Ho ho, what up, everybody? Thank you all for joining me tonight. What's going on? Episode 17, folks. We're just moving right along with this, ain't we? Yes, tonight we are talking in regards to there's a TV series that came out called The Act. And I'm going to give you the true story tonight, which a lot of you may have heard this. It's a bit of a crazy story. But it's about a girl by the name of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, her mother, her fiance, quote unquote, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him. His name is Nick. And it's an interesting tale to tell, folks, for those of you that are not familiar with it. You'll be mesmerized, to say the very least. At least I was. And it's about a little girl whose mother had, excuse me, guys, what's called Munchausen's by proxy, and kept her daughter sick for her entire childhood, basically, until the little girl finally grew up and said, enough is enough. She got a boyfriend via the internet. Gotta love that. They unalived her mother and tried to go live some kind of a life. It didn't happen, and now they're in prison, to say the very least. So, very interesting story, guys. To see what this woman did to her daughter blows my mind completely. It's insane, guys. So, interesting story. So, who do we have with us here tonight? Let's see here. Looks like Miss Heather's here. Thank you, Miss Heather, for joining us. Always happy to have you here. Crime Time with Mama Bear is in chat, guys. Our lovely co-host is over here hanging out tonight. Mrs. M, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's great to have you here. April, welcome back. Good to see you. Pookie, what's up, Pookie? Thanks for joining us again tonight, hon. Let's see. It's so good to see you, Mrs. M. Miss Brandy's in the house, everybody. Good deal. Good deal. Thanks for joining us, Brady. Happy to have you here. Little brother, what's up? Strike First, he's here too. Good deal. Anybody else? Let me see. I think I saw Miss Lena in here somewhere. There she is. Welcome back, Miss Lena. It's so good to see you. Thanks for coming back and joining us. And Miss Pookie, it's always a pleasure to have you. What's up, all you meatballs? Thank you so much for jumping in tonight. Miss Nikki's in the house. What's up, Nikki? Thanks for coming back tonight, hon. So great to have you here. I hope you're interested in listening to the story. You probably, again, know it already. Most people do. It's always interesting to hear somebody else tell a story. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for joining us, Nikki. I appreciate you. Mama, not for long. I know. Mama's got to go to bed soon, guys. Sadly, we don't get to enjoy her in the evenings, but that's okay. That's all right. We had a long stream today, by the way, this morning. So, I mean, you know, it seems like I just got off the hook with you guys and him back, but that's okay because I love hanging out with you guys. It's great to see you back in here, Nikki. We've missed you, having you around. Good God, my brother Mikey's in the house. What's up? Good to see you, my friend. Good evening, all you meatballs. What's up, meatballs? All my meatballs in the house. Jumping in the sauce with us tonight to tell another story. Forget about it. You know, got to get used to getting up at 6:30. Oh, yeah. I get it. Ordering out for dinner is a great idea when I did. Oh, my God. That'd be nice. I don't do that in a long time, bro. What are you ordering, dude? Just tease me with it. At least I can dream about it. You know what I'm saying? What you having? Everybody missed you just as much, Nikki. Thanks you. It's good to see you, like I said. Papa John's. Oh my God, I'm jealous. Dude, we don't have Papa John's around here where we live, and I absolutely love Papa John's pizza. Hello, ladies. Well, and gentlemen. Oh, Mikey's in the house after a hard day's work, hanging out with the Dago and the meatballs. It's always a good time. And again, thank you guys for being here with me this morning. For those of you that were to go over that, it was an interesting stream, to say the very least. And I'm very appreciative that you guys were here. I appreciate you guys so very much. Again, folks, leave me a little bit of your DNA on that like button on your way in the door if you would not mind. Share this out there, please, guys. Share it out. And at the end of the stream, please feel free to leave me a comment, please. I very much would appreciate that. So very much. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. All right. Come on in, guys. Grab your coffee, your tea, whatever it may be. Come on in. Sit down and have a conversation with me. I love real Philly cheesesteak, but that is located in civilization, so I make my own everything. Oh, we do it too. It is so funny that you said that because I got to go to the store earlier and pick up a couple things, and I got tortillas. Okay, they're low carb, zero carb tortillas, and I got some meat and some cheese and some vegetables, and I made their Philly cheesesteak, like quesadillas, and they're zero carb. Okay, they're so good, and they are amazing. So, you guys. Sorry, guys, and they're good. They're good for you. Well, when you do keto, they're good for you. But Heather got the popcorn going. Yeah, they're gonna be. I love Philly cheesesteak. They like the real deal stuff. So little pizza. We do that too, Mike. You can do that on the no carb tortillas and make little pizzas with them. Seriously, and they're pretty good. The keto diet sucks. Okay, you can't have anything that tastes good for the most part. So we found a way to make things work and started making all these other things. You know what I'm saying? Pretty good stuff though. Go check out our video when the live stream is over about Shania Warren and what happened to her. Absolutely, guys. Go check it out. Thank you, Mama Bear, for putting that out there. Yes, it was an exciting scenario getting to go to the store today. I only picked up a couple things because things are so expensive, but it was enough to get us through a day or two. You know what I'm saying? It was exciting. I love being able to buy food for my family. It's a good thing, guys. It's always a good thing. I got to get out of my butt and drive 150 miles to sell some antiques. I need bill money. I got you, Pookie. I get it. Nobody's buying. I have collectibles I've been trying to sell, which I don't really want to do because they're supposed to be something that I leave to the younger child. But nobody's buying, though. Nobody's buying, so it's not really helping. Yeah, I got you, bro. I understand completely. And again, guys, if you have not seen this series, it's called The Act. Go check this out. I watched a movie years ago, okay, about this story. Never saw this series. And Mama Bear enlightened me to the series, and I went and I've been watching it on and off all day. It's really good. Check it out. The movie is called I'm gonna get this wrong. I think it's called Die Mommy Dearest or something like that. It was an HBO film, and you know the whole story has always enthralled me. It was insane. And if you don't get it, if you get a chance, I'm gonna show you a little trailer of it here in a few. I'm just trying to wait for some more peeps to jump in here if they would. So if you get a chance, go check this out, guys. Please do. Thank you, Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. Thank you, Heather. I knew I was going to get it wrong. Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. Heather knows everything, you guys. I swear to God. And she remembers everything. Her mind is a steel trap. I appreciate you. I do appreciate you. You are appreciated. Dear Mama. Anyway, thank you, Miss Heather, for that. Again, guys, if anybody would please consider supporting the channel, it is so very much appreciated. Anything is appreciated via Venmo, PayPal, and or the Cash Apps, folks. I do appreciate that so much. Pink's in the house. What's up? What's up? Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Pink. after getting the houses of many women in the nursing home and how my mom stuck is everything like gotcha. You remember more than I forget, Heather. Seriously. That's a fact, my dear. Yes, and she gets out, by the way, guys, in December. And there's other stories, guys, um, that go along with this. It's sad because the boyfriend he got life, and she got 10 years. I personally think she should have been hospitalized in a mental institution rather than put in prison, and she needs something done up here. There's been other scenarios that she has been involved in that have been in regards to manipulatory things. She's very manipulative still. What's up, Pink? Yes, I'm the main meatball. I'm the big meatball in the house, or King Meatball, as I've been called recently. King of the meatballs. What's up? What's up? We got 15 and climbing, guys. Come on, let's do this. Tell us the story of how you got that scar on your head. Well, that's gonna cost everybody $5 bill. I'm just kidding. I think I told it, but you might not have been here, Pookie. This scar here, it's my horseshoe because it's shaped like a horseshoe. It's my luck scar. So, when I was 25 years old, I started having some issues. I was on the fire department, and the first issue I noticed, we were actually doing a body removal. Somebody had passed away. Miss Stacy's in the house. That's no worry. Um, Thank you for joining us, Stacy. It's great to see you again twice in one day. This is awesome. So I squatted down. I was lifting up the cot to pick up the body to put in the back of the squad, okay? And I got like a piercing pain right here. And it like blinded me for a minute. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Ow. Didn't think nothing of it the rest of the day. It was the only pain I had. Well, then life starts going on. Within a month or so, it was about 2 months after that happened. I had a couple other little weird pains in my head. And understand something. If you have a brain issue and any kind of pain in your brain redirects itself from the spot that's actually happening. So my issue was here. I was feeling the pain on the opposite side of my head. It's a weird thing. I never understood it, but that came from my neurologist. So now I was sitting at work one day, drinking coffee, just sitting at the table, actually sitting in front of a computer, looking at something, and I was drinking coffee with my cup, talking to the guy over here. We're talking away, and I said something, and I went, "Oh yeah!" Boom! My arm jerked, and I threw the coffee cup over my shoulder. No lie. That was number one. Okay, and then I was having weird twitchy feelings. It was odd. Um, I was walking through a grocery store not too long after that, and my entire right side of my body gave completely out. I fell over. My legs stopped working. There's a few times I was talking to people that started doing this like I was having a stroke or something, okay? And I had all of these weird symptoms going on. Like I'd be looking at something and my left eye would go completely blind, and then the right eye would do weird spotty shit, and then I was okay. Then this one would go out, and this one would do weird spotty shit. My eyes, one time I was talking to somebody, they crossed. No lie. And it's okay to laugh at these things, guys. It really is. Like I was literally talking to somebody, and it was like I was doing this to her, and she's like, What are you doing that for?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I didn't realize it, okay? I was having weird issues hearing things. I was getting these weird twitches all the time. I'd be sitting there watching TV and just twitch around. So, where this was right here, okay? It's something that's called an arterial ventricular malformation. It's something people are usually born with. It starts off like this big, if you can see that. Itty bitty teeny tiny. Because I was itty bitty teeny tiny when I was born. And it grows with you. Okay. As it grows, it starts getting bigger and pushes on your brain in the spot that it's in because it was right here. Now, what an arterial ventricular malformation is, you can look it up if you'd like, but I'll just explain it to you. All of our arteries and our veins run in a straight line through our whole body. Okay, they break off here, but they come back in a straight line that our blood flows through, right? Well, what happened was all that was fine and dandy in my whole body until it got to this part of my brain, and they did this. Like a ball of spaghetti, okay? I'm just putting this in layman's terms for everybody. I started going to the doctor, Stacy, with the symptoms probably within a week or two. But nobody, this is where I'm going to get to that point. So that's how that happens, okay? So therefore, in turn, you start having problems with blood flow. And as it gets bigger, it's pushing on spots on your brain that cause things in my sensory projection area. As well as specific motor skills, mechanical skills, things like that. Thank you, Heather, for that again. Guys, thank you so much for jumping in here. Let's keep it going, folks. Grab somebody if you know they'd be interested, drag them on in here. So I went to my doctor. When I first started going to the doctor, okay, he was like, I don't know what your deal is. I had x-rays. I had, it's all right, Cece. Don't worry about it. Good to see you. X-rays. I had CAT scans with contrast, which means that they put like a dye into your veins so that they can see the pictures better. They never once offered or even tried to do an MRI, which I never did understand. I don't know if it was because of my insurance or what it was, but they wouldn't do it. Now, I'm going to tell you a real quick piece of info, and then we'll go back to it. Once again, you guys know that I injured myself at one point on my back, right? And I've done it more than once, but there was one bad time. And I had an MRI scheduled through a private MRI company, like it was called Advanced Radiology. I had to cancel it because I could not. I got called into work or something that day, so I had to cancel it. I never rescheduled that with the MRI place, so remember that. So anyway, so I started going to my doctor. I went to my private doctor, my personal, family doctor, and I would start having more and more symptoms as time went on. So then I started going to the emergency room. They just can't figure nothing out. Don't have it. And eventually it came down to prognosis after about 6 months that it was in my head. And it literally was in my head. What is up, Inanashu? It's so good to see you. It's been a while. Welcome back. So it was in my head for real, but they were telling me it was like psychosomatic. It was not. There was nothing real going on, right? And I'm pissed off at this doctor. And I'm like, listen, I know I'm an EMT, for God's sakes. I know what this is. At that point, I was just started out in EMS and firefighting and all that. And I'm like, I know what symptoms are of different things. Like, come on. I know you're a doctor, but something is wrong. No. It's in your mind. You're having anxiety, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is driving me insane. And I knew it was something up here. Okay. You know your own body. Okay. And I know what symptoms are of different things. I've dealt with other things. I mean, it is what it is. So, right, Pookie. And I wasn't thinking about that type of thing at that point. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? How do I deal with this? It was stressing me out. It was causing me arguments between my first wife and I, which that doesn't matter now, but still, she's a monster considering what she put me through during that. But anyway, so I'm sitting there one day and it was weird because my back started to bug me again. I'm like, oh, my damn back and this and that. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I asked them at the hospital emergency room 3 times to do an MRI. There's no need. We already did CAT scan with contrast. We're not going to see anything different. I asked my private doctor, my family doctor. No need. Okay. Welcome, Miss Gina. So good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. So, excuse me, folks. I'm so sorry. So, I called that place. I didn't think this would work. I really didn't, but it was a shot in the dark. And I said, yeah, this is such and such. I had an MRI scheduled that I was supposed to cancel. Yes, Mr. Mayors, we see it right here. And I said, I need to reschedule that for as soon as possible. Sorry, I hadn't had the chance to. I had work and blah, blah. Okay. So she was like, okay. She starts putting everything in. She goes, and this was for what, sir? And I said, it was for my head. Okay, sir. Thanks. No problem. Put all my info in. And can you come in tomorrow at 11 a.m.? Yep. And I went. They did my head. I was there at 11. I left at 12:30, 12:45. I think it was somewhere around there. Went home. 1:30, my doctor's office calls me. And it was my doctor, not the secretary, not the receptionist, not the nurses. It was him himself. And he was like, Joe, this is Dr. Such and Such. He goes, I was just wondering if maybe you could come in tomorrow in the morning. I'd like to sit down and have a talk with you. Sure, Doc. I knew why, because I knew that they had transferred everything over to him, and that was that. And this was back in 2000, by the way. It's been 23 years now. And he was like, okay, great. We'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Great. I'll be there. So I go into the doctor, and he has this look of almost like a fear look on his face, honestly. And I was being kind of cocky and arrogant because I knew why I was there, because I knew they had found something. I knew it. So I walk in, I sit down, I'm standing there, or sit down, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. He comes walking in. He's like, how we doing? Shook my hand. He was super friendly, which was a little off for him because normally he was kind of standoffish and quiet. But anyway, and I was like, so what's up? And he goes, well, you took a test yesterday. And he goes, we had the results from that. And I kind of wanted to go over that. Great. And I had this grin on my face, and he just seemed nervous. And I said, well, what's going on? And he threw it up on the screen. He's got like the x-ray type scenario. And he pointed it, and it was just a little mass in that spot. And then he goes, that right there is, and he goes, I have to tell you, first off, my apologies to you. He goes, you've been coming to me for months with this issue. And I said, so why did nobody order an MRI on this? And he said, well, it was insurance. Typically, they don't have something that expensive done if it's not absolutely necessary. So he explained to me what it was called. That's awesome. 22 peeps in here. Come on in, guys. I am so happy to see you guys. And 1 second, folks. So he explained to me what it was, just like I explained to you. And I said, well, so that's basically like an aneurysm waiting to happen, right? And he goes, absolutely. And he goes, so I'm going to send you to this neurologist and blah, blah, blah. He goes, it's not like super dangerous. He goes, people have lived with them their whole lives, but at the same time, it could burst and then you could just drop. Okay. I go to the neurologist. He tells me the same thing. He's like, but he wants to send me to a neurologist at the Cleveland Clinic, which is a world-renowned hospital out here for neurological brain surgery, back surgery, whatever. Okay. I go see the guy at the Cleveland Clinic. He tells me all about what it is, what it isn't. And yes, it could have burst and I would have not been sitting here. Thank you, Miss April. I appreciate that so very much. And so they went in and they resected it. There's, like I said, the arteries run straight one way and the other way. And in the middle of it, there was a ball of mess. They cut it, put it out, put those arteries back together with titanium clips, basically. The clips, eventually the artery grows over that, I guess. And then they had to cut my whole skull out right here, take that out. Well, they drilled 3 holes, 1, 2, 3. Then they got the saw. They cut that out. They pulled that piece off. They went in, did their job, put that back in with titanium clips here, 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 and here we are. So if I would have let it go and just it's psychosomatic, I mean, I'd be talking to you guys. Yes. Kinda, yeah, because they told me there was a 20% chance that I would make it through it because you can have all sorts of problems. I was scared to death, but I did it. I went in and did it and was home in 5 days, guys. 5 days total. Um, that's pretty good for having such a serious brain surgery. Okay. But Cleveland Clinic was absolutely insanely amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I don't care where you're at in the United States. When I was in there, the Prince of Egypt was in there having surgery done. Okay, the Prince of Egypt, folks. They had armed guards at the door on the floor that I was on, all the doors and all the exits and entrances. So wherever you are in the world, they will take it. They are the best for stuff like this. Oh yeah, and that was the other thing too, Stacy. You're absolutely right. I went to the hospital that I was going to, the emergency room. I was going there once a week for like 6 months. Dr. Nemi was his name. I will never forget it. I took my MRI screens that I had, the slides. They were in a thing, and I in the paperwork that came with it, that was a diagnosis read in there. I walked into the hospital through the emergency room. I asked if he was working. He was. Thank you. And I walked through the back, which you're not supposed to do, on back through the thing. And at this point, he knew me by my first name, guys, just to look at me. He was standing at the counter at the desk writing something. I said, Dr. Nemi. He turned around and goes, Mr. Mayoris. And he rolled his eyes in a way almost like, here we go again. And I just kind of laughed. I said, it's good to see you too. What can we do, for you, Mr. Mayoris? And I slammed that paperwork right down in front of him. I said, just look at that for me real quick. I'm really, really busy, sir. I don't really have time for this. And I said, you really probably should open that and take a look at it. So he did. And I said, remember what you kept telling me, that this problem I'm having is psychosomatic. You wouldn't order the MRI like I asked you to, so on and so forth. And he was like, yeah. And I was going to sue this guy. Okay. But I couldn't because nothing happened to me. If something would have happened to me, then I could have sued him and probably owned everything he owned and then some, and that hospital. But nothing happened. But he opens it, and I'm watching his eyes as he's reading it, and they get bigger and bigger. And he looks down at the thing, and he turns and looks at me, and I said, don't. I took the paperwork from him, turned around and walked away, and I said, you can go F yourself. I hope you lose your license. And I walked away. And everybody in the ER is just staring at him. And I'm like, yeah. I never went back to that hospital after that either. I know that was probably immature, but I was 25 years old at the time. And I was very angry that what could have happened to me. It didn't, but it could have. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's the story behind it. And here I sit 23 years later. Hi, kidding. So.
How was great?
Oh yeah. I called an attorney. I did. I really wanted to sue him only because he was such a dick about the whole thing, and he kept like blowing me off, and just the way he acted, so on and so forth. So I will tell you that I wasn't able to sue him. I didn't cause any, for him to lose his job, but he did lose his license about 10 or 11 years after that scenario because of something altogether different. He misdiagnosed somebody, and it was just bad. So. But that's that story. And we got 22 people in here now. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's so great to see you all. I appreciate that. I know they think that because they have that license and they make the money they do, that they're so much better than people, that they can treat people a certain way. And not all doctors are like that. I know some doctors that are more down to earth than I am, guys. They don't even act like they're doctors. You'd never know. But there are a few like that, and he was one of them, and he lost his license. I was like, that's karma right there. I've heard that before too, Gina. Yes, thank you, Stacy. I am too. Well, he came in from being outside, but he always hugs me when he comes by me. Plus, he likes to get his head on the camera. It's a thing for him, So, but he's a very loving kid. He always has been. He's got a good heart. He's irritating at times, like all kids, but he's a great kid. He really is. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was blown away when I found out. My other doctor, I left him and moved to another doctor not too long after that. He was very, very, very helpful to me after that. So, all right. Looks like we got who we got. All right, guys. Let me show you guys a little trailer here of it's called The Act. It's the movie or TV series that was brought out based on the true story about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, folks. I remember when this was Dago Dad and the Kid. Oh my God, Stacy. Yes. Yeah, Miss Stacy's been around that long too, guys. These are the people that are still here after a year that started off with me and my drama channel and all that other stuff, and they're still coming around me, guys. That makes me feel good because it makes me feel like I do something right, And I thank you, Stacy, for still being here. I really do. 1 second. Let me get this set up for you guys. Where did it go? I just saw it. There it is. This came out in 2019, by the way, guys. This series did. All right. Absolutely, Miss Stacy. You're family to me, my dear. You're such a good person, and you have such a huge heart. And you are the epitome of an amazing friend. So I thank you for being here. All right, guys, let me have you check this trailer out for the series. I'm telling you guys, it's entertaining. If you have time to sit at home with nothing to do, check this out. It's through Hulu. If you have that, I'm sure if you don't have Hulu, you can pull it up on the Fire Stick because I don't have Hulu. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I don't have Hulu, but I found it on a Fire Stick, so here we go. All right, guys, allow me. Let me know how the audio is. I only speak the truth, Miss Stacy, and nothing less. Let me blow this up a little bit.
This is the state's case against Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
She's got paraplegia, epilepsy, heart murmur, and she's allergic to sugar. Everything I do for her.
My mom is my best friend. All she wants to do is keep me safe.
Gypsy!
Have you been able to confirm the girl's medical history?
Which part?
Any of it?
That's what being a mom is. Never being sure you're doing the right thing, but doing it anyway.
I'm with the Children's Division of Missouri Social Services.
Oh
Open. Gypsy's got the mind of a 7-year-old.
no. How old are you?
Oh, she's 15, born in 1995.
I thought you said I was born in 1993.
I'm just going to ask you a few questions, all right? Can you read?
Do you love me?
What are you giggling about?
I met my Prince Charming. Hi.
I never once disrespected my mama the way you do.
I'm so trapped. I can't tell anyone.
You can tell me.
Nobody's gonna ever do more for you than I do.
She's never gonna let us be together.
Sooner or later, everybody knows everything about everyone.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard, how do you plead?
And there it is. I'm telling you guys, check this out if you get a chance. It's a good series. So we are going to give you the real story. A lot of you guys, like I said, might know it. It's always been one of my, I shouldn't say favorite, but it is because it was so interesting to me. The psychology behind it it blew my mind. So no, she shouldn't be. Well, her mother's deceased now, Stacy, as you'll see. She shouldn't be. She gets out in December, Gina. But understand, I'm kind of torn with this because I read some other stories about her that she did some manipulation to some people and caused some trauma to other people in her life too. Okay. And it wasn't so innocent, but at the same time, she learned it from her mother. So there's that. It's a whole, I'll explain it, Inanna, sorry. It's a whole weird story. It really is. And it really just blows my mind. I was like that too. Like, how the hell did she get away with it? That was my thought, Pookie. And I thought, they should have put her in a state institution and gave her the medical therapy that she needed, because prisons don't do that, guys. They don't. They can say they do, but they don't. They don't at all. So she wasn't a mother, and she on a whole. You're not going to believe the things that this woman did to her child. She had her on a feeding tube. She had her in a wheelchair, and she told her daughter that if she would get out of the wheelchair and walk, it would make her worse. It would make her sicker, and she believed this. Okay. Everything that she had her believing was insane. And the disease that her mother had was called Munchausen's by proxy. Okay. A lot of people have it, not to this extreme, but a lot of people, my ex-wife has it. Okay. Which is, like I said, one of the reasons why I believe that I ended up getting custody of my children in the state that I live in. Fathers don't usually get custody of their children. I had full custody of my kids. Oh, yeah, she definitely got educated, Nikki. That's a fact, hon. But she knew how to beat the system in a lot of different ways. I have interviews with her while she's in prison and stuff like that. And the sad thing is it was all, she was so sheltered by this woman and hidden away from society and kept away from people that she didn't know how to be. She thought everything was like Disney World, that's just what it was. And yeah, didn't she give her daughter meds that were for dogs? That part I don't remember, April, because I watched so much on this. I don't know. I know that she could always walk. She could eat. She could walk. She didn't have any of the issues that her mother said she had, as you'll hear. That she was allergic to sugar. She was this, she was that. She had all of her teeth taken out of her mouth pretty much and replaced. And they weren't that bad. It was crazy. Her mother was definitely mentally ill. It is an actual disorder, yes. And part of it came from her grandmother, which was a whole other story. And I read a little bit into it today, and I pretty much believe that Dee Dee Blanchard, which is the mother, kind of killed her own mother, unalived her own mother, or let her die, I guess you could say. So, yeah, right, Nikki. So, all right, guys, let's get this show on the road. 1 second here. Let me back this up here for a second, everybody. All right. go with this. I know it came very quick, didn't it, Gina? Don't remind me because it's going to be. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's not going to. I'll just put it this way. It's probably not going to happen here in my house, which is sad, but what are you going to do? All right, now. All right, here we go. Mr. Popper's in the house. What's up, brother? Of course she does. She's always been. Everything happens around Rachel, guys. Everything happens around Rachel. This was Rachel. This was Rachel's initially. She had talked about this months ago. Is she in here? I don't see her. Did she jump in here? Are you in here, Rachel? If you are, hello, my dear. Thanks for jumping in. And the most awesome security guard on the planet, my brother, Mr. Faux Papa. What's up, Daniel? Thank you for joining us, sir. Always a pleasure to have you here. Actually, here. I figured she was probably going to bed. I figured. Well, we got Gina and Nikki, Missouri. Rachel's in Wisconsin, by the way. But everything happens in Wisconsin. Rachel is surrounded by crazy crap happening all the time. I told you guys the other day. Yeah, Mama Bear's gonna end up in bed too. Just happens. Sounds weird, but my father really enjoyed Easter with the family around. Yeah, I know, hon. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is the first year. God bless you, Gina. I'll have you in my thoughts and prayers, my dear. You know that. You know that for a fact. This apparently went down in southern Missouri. I don't actually remember that because everything else. Thank you, Miss Pookie. I appreciate you so very much for that. Absolutely, Gina. You know there never, ever. Never, ever. You don't even have to say thank you. Springfield, Missouri. Right. Okay. Yeah, I thought Rachel had something to do with this somehow, or like it was something that had to do with her. No, they were found in Wisconsin. I'm sorry. The boyfriend was from Wisconsin, and he went to Missouri, met up with Gypsy. They did what they did, and then they got on a bus and went back to Wisconsin. They lived with his mother for a matter of, I don't know, a short period of time. Right. That's right. Sorry for not being clear on that. And I did know that. I just wasn't thinking. So my apologies. All right, guys, let's try this out and see what happens. Again, let me know how the volume or the audio is on this one, please. And we will get to doing it. And there she is. And that was another thing. This little girl was not allowed to grow hair. Like, and the mother would tell people it was due to her diseases and stuff, but they shaved her head. She shaved her head every other day. It was insane. So, and you guys, if you could see, you'll see what she looks like through this. If you could see her now, which you will, big difference, guys. She's actually really not an unattractive girl, and that was something that was put into her. Was that the disease, the shit that the diseases that she had made her look like this? Okay, and no, not at all, not at all. She's a very attractive girl. Okay. My mom has the opposite. Still, she's nuttier than squirrel shit. but she forced me into actual eating disorder for pageant money. My ex-wife was that way too. My ex-wife was anorexic, and she tried to make my daughter and my other children that way, and no, didn't happen. So, and her drug of choice was Benadryl. Everything that was wrong with them, they needed Benadryl for it. They all had allergies. In the middle of February, they were having allergy attacks. I'm like, no. So we can't always make the best choices in life. We've all got exes that just are not the best. So, but anyway, folks, here we go. Grab your popcorn, and I hope you enjoy it. And pay attention, because it is definitely interesting. Oh my God, you don't say. Shut up, Nikki. All right, guys. Understand something, mind you. This little girl was born in 1991. Okay? That was one of the other things that this woman did, was she pushed her back and made her younger over and over and over again, and kept messing with the girl's mind. They would change it back and forth. She was born in 1991, so understand that, okay? And like when she was 18, the mother was saying she was 14, blah 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 blah. So, and she's always acted. She always acted like a young child. That's the other thing too. So just that way you guys understand what this here and the way she acts is all about, okay? To answer the question earlier, I forgot about this. This was how she got away for so many years with the whole medical record scenario. Because Hurricane Katrina destroyed everything, and they lost all her medical records. And that's what she told everyone, which is why she never had medical records to present. So, yeah, she was insane, Pookie. There's no question on that one. So,
Hey everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download.
what's the matter? What's up? What now? Can you guys see me? Are you kidding me? This is a news report. Let me know when you can see me. What's up, Kat? It was news, guys. Can you guys see me now? You got to be kidding me. Unbelievable. Hold on. Can you guys see and hear me yet or no? Okay. I don't understand. I'm about done with this stuff already. That was ABC News, and it was all about fair use, all of that stuff. So this is ridiculous. It's okay. Hold on. Hold on one moment. Okay. All right, we're going to try something. I had some things backed up. I don't know, and I'm praying to God this works, okay? That was insane. That was news broadcast, guys. So, and that should have been all about fair use. Unbelievable. I'm so irritated with this. Hold on. I got something else for us to watch. I just didn't want to have to use this one. 1 second here. I'm getting real sick of this. Real sick of this. I even if I do, Gina, all right, so all right, hopefully I'm gonna have to split this up and give you guys more. I got more. Don't worry. Hold on a second here.
Due to this.
Okay. 1 second, everybody. Just let me reset this up. I already had it. Probably, Gina. I already had it set up, but I just have to set this one up now. And we'll make this work one way or another. You know there's haters out there, Miss Gina. Always. Just bear with me, guys. Give me a few minutes. I'll have it rolling for you. I thought I was 100% safe because that was, public access news. It is so embarrassing when that happens. It's insane. We're almost there, guys. Sorry. Almost there. Just a minor setback. We'll have it rolling here in a minute. Exactly, Mikey. All right. 1 second here. No, I agree. I agree, CC. All right, 1 second, guys. All right, I showed you that. Welcome, sunshine. All right.
This case's graphic nature, this episode includes dramatizations and discussions of murder and assault that some people may find offensive. We require extreme caution for children under 13. Dee Blanchard was a model parent, a tireless single mom taking care of her gravely ill child. But after Dee was killed, it turned out things weren't as they appeared and her daughter Gypsy had never been sick at all. For 7 years before the murder, Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard lived in a tiny pink bungalow on West Volunteer Way in Springfield, Missouri. Their neighbors liked them. Sweet is the word they'd use when they talk about them. Once you met them, people said, they were impossible to forget. Dee was 48 years old, originally from Louisiana. She was a significant, affable-looking person, which she reinforced by dressing in bright, cheerful colors. She had curly brown hair she liked to hold back with ribbons. People who knew her remember her as generous with money when she could. She could make friends quickly and inspire deep devotion. She did not have a job but instead served as a full-time caretaker for Gypsy Rose, her teenage daughter. Gypsy was a tiny thing, perhaps 5 feet tall as far as anyone could guess. She was a wheelchair user. Her round face was overwhelmed by a pair of owlish glasses, she was pale and skinny, and her teeth were crumbling and painful. She had a feeding tube. Sometimes Dee had to drag an oxygen tank around with them, nasal cannula looped around Gypsy's tiny ears. Ask about her daughter's diagnoses, and Dee would reel off a list as long as her arm: chromosomal defects, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, severe asthma, sleep apnea, eye problems. Dee said, it had always been this way, ever since Gypsy was a baby. She had spent time in neonatal intensive care. She had leukemia as a toddler. The endless health crises had taken a toll. Gypsy was friendly, talkative even, but her voice was high and childlike. Dee would often remind people that her daughter had brain damage. She had to be homeschooled because she'd never been able to keep up with other kids. Dee said Gypsy had the mind of a child of 7. It was important to remember that in dealing with her. She loved princess outfits and dressing up. She wore wigs and hats to cover her tiny head. A curly, blonde Cinderella number seems to have been her favorite. She's wearing it in so many photographs of herself with her mother. She was always with her mother. Gypsy once said, "We are a pair of shoes, never good without the other." Their house, like everyone else's around them, had been built by Habitat for Humanity. It had amenities specially built.
Exactly, PW. Welcome, by the way. It's good to have you here. And that's a fact. None of these things were ever wrong with her. And it made me sick to see somebody taking advantage of, stating that somebody had, that's exactly what it is, Kat. Stating that somebody had leukemia. Come on. You know what I mean? I know it's a disease that this woman had, but it's insane, guys. So, and my apologies. That's exactly it. Too, Nick. For the first, but it's the only one I can get it to work. So I had struggles with that too, Pink. I really did. And we're gonna talk about that here a little bit more. Welcome for those of you that just jumped in, though. Thank you for joining us.
For Gypsy, a ramp up to the muscles, Gypsy told the local television station in 2008. Sometimes, on summer nights, Dee Dee would set up a projector to play a movie on the side of her house. The neighborhood children, whose parents usually couldn't afford to send them to a movie theater, came over for a treat. Dee Dee charged for concessions, but it was still cheaper than the local theater. The money was to go to Gypsy's treatments. Dee Dee became particularly close with some people across the way, a single mother named Amy Pinniger and her 4 children. Over years of tea and coffee, Dee Dee would tell Pinniger her life story. She said, she was originally from a small town in Louisiana. Still, she'd had to flee her abusive family with Gypsy. It was her own father, Gypsy's grandfather, who'd been the last straw. He'd burned Gypsy with cigarettes. So she'd lit out from her hometown for good. She told Pinniger that Gypsy's father was a deadbeat, an alcoholic drug abuser who had mocked his daughter's disabilities, called the Special Olympics a freak show. As Pinniger understood it, he'd never sent them a dime, not even when Dee Dee and Gypsy had lost everything in Hurricane Katrina. It was a blessing that a doctor at a rescue shelter had helped them get to the Ozarks. Sometimes, listening, Amy Pinniger found herself overwhelmed. I wondered, Pinniger told me over the phone last fall, keeping this child alive, is she that happy? All she could do was be a good neighbor and pitch in when she could. She'd drive Dee Dee and Gypsy to the airport for their medical trips to Kansas City, bring them things from Sam's Club. Ultimately, they did seem happy. They went on charity trips to Disney World, met Miranda Lambert through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Looking back on it, Pinniger was sometimes even jealous of them. It was a perfect story for a human interest segment on the evening news, a family living through tragedy and disaster, managing to build a life for themselves despite many obstacles. But the story wasn't over. One day last June, Dee Dee's Facebook account posted an update. That bitch is dead. That is crazy. Anyways, it was June 14th, a hot Sunday afternoon that had driven many people indoors to the blessings of air conditioning. The first few comments on the status are from friends expressing wild disbelief. Maybe the page had been hacked. Perhaps someone should call. Does anyone know where they live? Should someone call the police, give them the address? As they debated it, a new comment from Dee Dee's account appeared on the status. I fucking slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud lol. Kim Blanchard, who lived nearby, was among the first to react. Though Kim had a similar last name to the Blanchards, she wasn't a relative. She had met Dee Dee and Gypsy in 2009 at science fiction and fantasy convention held in the Ozarks, where Gypsy could wear costumes and not be particularly out of place. Kim said, they were just perfect. Here was this poor, sick child who was being taken care of by a wonderful, patient mother who only wanted to help everybody. Kim called Dee Dee's number, but there was no answer. Kim's husband, David, suggested that they drive on over to the house just to make sure everything was all right. When they arrived, a crowd of worried neighbors was already gathering. Dee Dee and Gypsy had sometimes been unreachable before, off on a medical trip without telling anyone. The windows had a protective film on them. It was hard to see in. Knocking on the doors brought no response. But everyone found it suspicious that Dee Dee's new cube van, which could easily transport Gypsy around in her wheelchair, was parked in the driveway. Kim called 911. The police couldn't enter the house without a warrant, but didn't stop David from climbing through a window. Inside, he saw nothing amiss. All the lights had been turned off, and the air conditioning was on a high. There were no signs of a robbery or any struggle. All of Gypsy's wheelchairs were still in the house. It was frightening to think about how helpless she might be without them. The police began taking statements while they waited for a search warrant. Kim relayed information back to Facebook. Yes, they'd been to the house. Yes, the police had been called. Dee Dee's online friends and acquaintances began bombarding Kim with questions.
I
She
knew you
answered
could do
as
that,
best
babe.
she could, but the status was starting to get shared around Missouri. Here's the thing, guys. I know everyone is very concerned, Kim wrote on Facebook. We need to realize that whoever posted this can read all of this. The search warrant didn't come through until 10:45 that night. The police found Dee Dee's body in the bedroom. She'd been stabbed and had been dead for several days. But there was no sign of Gypsy. The next day, Kim organized a vigil and a GoFundMe account to take care of Dee Dee's funeral expenses and possibly Gypsy's. Everyone feared the worst. All her life, Gypsy had evoked protective responses in people. She was so small and looked so helpless. Many people couldn't understand why this had happened to her. Who could prey on someone who had no defenses? Meanwhile, the police were starting to sort things out. A young woman named Aaliyah Woodman C. had approached them. There were some things she knew, something that might be helpful. For example, she told them, Gypsy had a secret online boyfriend. Aaliyah was Amy Pinniger's daughter, a 23-year-old who'd worked as a medical claims investigator. She felt like a big sister to Gypsy, and evidently, Gypsy felt the same. But they were rarely alone together, as Gypsy's mother was constantly by her side. When Gypsy confided in Aaliyah, it was through a secret Facebook account under Emma Rose's name. Gypsy wrote in October 2014, "This is my personal account. My mom is still overprotective, so she doesn't know about this account." Then she confessed she'd met a man on a Christian singles site. She was in love with him. Gypsy hadn't yet told her mother. She wrote that she knew Dee Dee would disapprove, though she longed to grow up and have a boyfriend like other girls her age. Gypsy wrote once, "In the past, I told my mom something mean. I say I wished her mom was my mom instead of my mom, 'cause Mrs. Amy let Aaliyah date anyone she wanted, so that hurt my mom." The new boyfriend's name was Nicholas Godejohn. They'd been communicating for over 2 years. He didn't care that she was in a wheelchair, and so Gypsy planned to marry him. They were both Catholic. They had agreed on names for their children. She was cooking up an elaborate plan for Dee Dee to casually meet Nick at the local movie theater, after which Gypsy was hoping they could be open about their relationship. This wasn't the first time Aaliyah had gotten clandestine messages from Gypsy about boys. She knew that Gypsy had tried to meet men online before, that despite what Dee Dee said about Gypsy's 7-year-old mind, thoughts about romance and sex were taking root anyway. But she was concerned. Gypsy had always seemed naive to her. In October 2014, she wrote, "I'm 18, Nick is 24, which made a 6 years difference. Plus, the way she talked about the relationship was odd. It was like some kind of magnificent fairy tale was unfolding," Aaliyah said over coffee in Springfield last fall. She was worried, too, about Dee Dee, who'd confronted her in 2011 about her chats with Gypsy, telling her she was corrupting a child. She told Aaliyah, "I'm not going to tell your mom about the things you said. But I don't want you talking to Gypsy like that." Dee Dee took away Gypsy's phone and computer for a time. Gypsy had always managed, nonetheless, to slip through some crack in her mother's attention, find some other way of getting to Aaliyah. But the two saw each other less, and after the messages about Nick Godejohn in the fall of 2014, Aaliyah didn't hear from Gypsy again. Standing in front of the house half a year later with the crowd gathered, it occurred to Aaliyah that the police should know about all this. She showed them the Facebook messages, and they wrote the name down. The police also put a trace on the Facebook posts to Dee Dee's account. The IP address was registered to Nicholas Godejohn in Big Bend, Wisconsin. On June 15, a team of officers in Waukesha County, Wisconsin, were dispatched to Godejohn's house. The standoff was brief. Nick quickly surrendered. Luckily enough, Gypsy was with him, unharmed, in excellent health. Relief flooded everyone, at least for a moment. The Springfield sheriff said at a press conference the following day, "Things are not always as they appear." It turned out that, in fact, Gypsy hadn't used a wheelchair from the moment she left her house a few days earlier. She didn't need one. She could walk just fine, there was nothing wrong with her muscles, and she had no medication or oxygen tank with her either. Her hair was short and spiky, but she wasn't bald. Her head had simply been shaved, all her life, to make her appear ill. She was well-spoken if shaken by recent events. The disabled child she'd long been in the eyes of others was nowhere to be found. It was all a fraud, she told the police. All of it. Every last bit. Her mother had made her do it. Kim Blanchard cried. At that point, it really became, "I don't know anything about this person. What have I been believing? How could I have been so stupid?" No one asked for any more documentation. No one raised an eyebrow, Amy Pinniger told me later. Were they behind closed doors laughing at us? She paused for a second, suckers. Dee Dee's legal name was Claudine Blanchard. She'd used various aliases and misspellings over the years. Deed, Claudine. These treatments. Dee Dee became particularly close with some people.
It's very easy to do that, PW, because she didn't even actually know what her age was for years, her actual age, because her mother kept lying to her, telling her she was born here, then she was born there, then she was born here, then, you know what I mean? And she was born in 91, guys. She was 18, 19 years old, and her mother was still telling everybody that she was 14 years old. So, again, it's hard to keep up once you get it down. So, but she's 31 now. Sorry. One moment, please. All right, back to where we were. I think I jumped it backwards a little bit, guys. My apologies. I think we were about right here. Not right here. Okay. Sorry, folks.
To my more recent talks with her in prison in Missouri, she is confused about details large and small. For example, when she was arrested, Gypsy told the police that she was 19. Rod and Christy were able to straighten that out by giving authorities Gypsy's birth certificate. She was actually 23. Parents make your world, and Dee Dee made Gypsy's into one where she did, indeed, have cancer. Gypsy told me her mother said some of the medications were related to it. Even as she grew older, she wasn't sure how to question it. There are lingering questions, in fact, about precisely what medications Gypsy was given over the years. Some of them may never have been prescribed to Gypsy at all. Her attorney, for example, suspects Dee Dee gave Gypsy some kind of tranquilizer. The pile of bogus diagnoses, the confusing lists of drugs, it all points to a syndrome called Munchausen by proxy. Munchausen syndrome was first identified by a British psychiatrist named Richard Asher in 1951. A successor, Roy Meadow, identified Munchausen by proxy in 1977. It has been in the DSM, the diagnostic manual used by psychiatrists, since 1980. In short, a person with the syndrome either feigns or induces physical and psychological symptoms for no apparent benefit other than attention and sympathy. If the person does this to themselves, it's plain Munchausen syndrome. When the symptoms are faked or induced in others, it's called Munchausen by proxy. The DSM-V recommends distinguishing Munchausen syndrome from malingering, affecting or causing illness symptoms where there is the hope of material benefit. Malingering isn't considered to be a mental illness. It's just plain fraud. While most with the syndrome are mothers, there are also documented cases of fathers doing this to their children, husbands doing this to their wives. And doctors often don't detect it for months or years. In fact, it's difficult to say just how prevalent Munchausen is in the general population. By its very nature, it hides in plain sight. Doctors often miss Munchausen seems counterintuitive, but the doctor-patient relationship is a bond of trust that goes both ways. Caroline Burton, a doctor at the Mayo Clinic in Florida who's treated cases of Munchausen where the proxy is an adult, we rely on what a patient tells us. Even if a doctor suspects their patient is lying, there isn't much incentive to refuse treatment based on the doubt. What if the doctor is wrong and the patient suffers for it? Burton said, you have to be careful not to overlook organic disease. You've really got to go through quite a lot of diagnostic hurdles. A diagnosis of Munchausen syndrome by proxy is attached to the perpetrator, not to the victim. Because Dee Dee is dead, it's impossible to diagnose her. She didn't leave behind a diary or some other documentation of her intentions. She kept a binder of medical information in which she seemed to be sorting through the different information she'd given to various doctors. And she did fit specific parameters that doctors often cite as red flags for Munchausen syndrome. For example, she had some medical training, the number of doctors she took Gypsy to see over the years, and her propensity for changing locations, so there was no clear medical trail. So are the concerns over sleep apnea, which is one way Munchausen often seems to begin in the various documented cases. It is also not unusual, as Burton told me, for extended family members and even sometimes immediate ones to be totally unaware of the feigning of illness. The perpetrators are brilliant people. They know how to manipulate other people. They manipulate their victims, too. The longer it goes on, the higher the chances are that the actual patient might collude with the perpetrator. The desire to please a parent can be enough to enlist a child in the deception. But even in adult cases, there can be some kind of emotional attachment keeping the patient in on the lie. The relationship that develops between the two is so unhealthy, Burton told me of the adult cases she had treated. And no source I consulted had ever heard of a case where the abuse went on for this long, into their adulthood. One thing seems inevitable: for the patient in a Munchausen by proxy issue, the truth becomes corroded. Gypsy's medical records are sobering. All the way back in 2001, doctors at Tulane University Hospital tested Gypsy for muscular dystrophy. All tests were relatively straightforward. The records of all those tests survived Katrina. Nonetheless, Dee insisted on doctor after doctor in Louisiana and Missouri that Gypsy had muscular dystrophy. Most doctors appear from these records to have taken a certain face value didn't probe. Instead, they treated Gypsy for various vision, hearing, sleep, and salivation problems that were presumed to flow from the muscular dystrophy. The records I reviewed for this article appeared to cover only some of Gypsy's care. It's impossible to say how many other relevant documents might exist. Some interventions were surgical. Gypsy's eye muscles were repeatedly operated on for alleged weakness. Tubes were put in her ears for likely ear infections. She was given a feeding tube and ate very little by mouth, surviving on cans of the meal replacement Pediasure well into her 20s. Her salivary glands were first injected with Botox, then removed because her mother complained that she drooled too much. Gypsy's teeth rotted out and had to be extracted. However, whether that was because of poor dental hygiene or a mixture of medications and severe malnutrition, it's hard to say. The repeated invasions of Gypsy's body in the name of these illnesses she turned out not to have been, in short, severe and prolonged. It is difficult to say now whether any of it was medically needed at all. That is not difficult to say is that all of it began when Gypsy was impossibly young and could hardly be expected to challenge authority, her mother, or doctors about how she was feeling. For their part, doctors did not pick up on innumerable hints that Dee's stories did not add up, not even the sleep doctor, Robert Beckerman. He saw Gypsy both in New Orleans and in Kansas City. Instead, he featured his treatment of Gypsy in the hospital newsletter. He repeatedly mentioned in the medical files that she and Dee were his favorite mother-daughter patient. And for your reference, Beckerman did not reply to requests for comment for this story. There was one exception. In 2007, a pediatric neurologist named Bernardo Flasterstein, consulting on Springfield.
I believe that if she would have been found out before she was unalived, that yes, she would have spent a long period of time in prison, guys. Dee was in bad health right towards the end where this happened to begin with. She was diabetic and would not take care of herself. Okay, so, and she was taking Xanax and sleeping pills and so on and so forth for years. So if she would not have been unalived, then yes, she would have probably spent a good stint in prison if she'd have been found out. And I don't understand why, Gypsy had the ability to get on the computer at a point in time where she was talking to this guy. She could have, I don't understand why she didn't get a hold of somebody through the computer and say, hey, or say something to the neighbor or whatever. I know there was a fear, but still, it just didn't make sense to me. None at all. All right, Kat. That's a good one. Somebody get a Ouija board. I want to punch her mother's ghost so hard right now. Absolutely, my dear. Absolutely. And guys, I'm not saying that, I'm not making excuses for Dee at all, but her mother was not a good mother either. She treated her like garbage. She downplayed her. Everything she did with Gypsy, she said it was not enough. Dee went to jail for about 6 months for check fraud right after Gypsy was born. And Gypsy was left in the care of Dee's mother. And the only thing that Dee asked her to do was to follow the doctor's orders because in the beginning, Gypsy was having problems eating, okay? Like kids do this. It's not anything damaging or permanent. It was just something that, so, and this was before Dee went nuts with this whole thing, and that's all she asked her to do. Well, her mother didn't do it because her mother was a bit of an ass. I'll be honest with you, not talking ill of the dead, but she was not a very nice mother. She was stabbed, Pookie. multiple times. So that's where Dee Dee even got some of this from, I think. And her father was not the greatest person, so on and so forth. So not sticking up for her. I'm just telling you that's where this may have come from. Sharp force injury. Yes. Thank you, Nikki.
Bill's case became suspicious. In a recent phone conversation, Flasterstein told me he had his doubts from the first time he saw Dee Dee and Gypsy. Dee Dee's stories about Gypsy's myriad illnesses didn't fly with him. In his notes to Gypsy's primary care doctor after the first visit, he wrote, in bold, underlined type, "The mother is not a good historian. There was an unusual distribution to Gypsy's weakness for a muscular dystrophy patient," he wrote in his notes. Still, Flasterstein says, he gave the case the benefit of the doubt and sent Gypsy for all the usual tests, the MRIs, and the blood work. It all came back normal. I remember having her stand up and she could hold her own weight. He told Dee Dee, "I don't see any reason why she doesn't walk." In between his visits with Gypsy, Flasterstein tracked down a doctor who had seen Gypsy in New Orleans. That doctor told him that the muscle biopsy in New Orleans had been negative for muscular dystrophy and that Gypsy's previous neurologist had explained that to Dee Dee. When confronted with the problem, Dee Dee simply stopped seeing those New Orleans doctors. Analyzing all the facts, and after talking to her previous pediatrician, Flasterstein wrote in the file, "There is a strong possibility of Munchausen by proxy, with maybe some underlying unknown etiology to explain for her symptoms." Dee Dee stopped seeing him after that visit. Flasterstein said, "I assume she got my notes." Moreover, nurses told him later that on the way out of his office on that last visit, Dee Dee was complaining that he didn't know what he was talking about. Flasterstein never followed up. He told me that Dee Dee saw in the network of Springfield doctors, everyone bought their story. He remembers being meant to treat the pair with golden gloves. He says he thought that if he reported it to social services, they wouldn't believe him. Thinking about it now, Flasterstein regrets not doing more. He says this was only the second case of Munchausen he'd seen in his decades-long career. He heard about the murder when a former nurse in his office wrote him about it last year. "Poor Gypsy," he told me. "She suffered all those years, and for no reason." He wishes he could have been more aggressive. It was not the only missed opportunity for authorities to intervene. In the fall of 2009, someone made an anonymous call to the Springfield Police Department, asking for a wellness check. The person said that they had doubts that Gypsy was suffering from all the ailments her mother described. The police drove over to the house, but Dee Dee put their fears to rest. She told them that she sometimes used inconsistent birth dates and spellings of her name to hide from an abusive husband. No one called Rod Blanchard or checked on these claims. The police accepted the explanation. Gypsy does suffer from some type of mental handicap, they wrote in their report. The file was closed. Gypsy also tried, once, to escape her mother. She met a man at the science fiction convention that Kim Blanchard and her husband also attended. Gypsy and this man began communicating online. In February 2011, Gypsy and Dee Dee were leaving everyone with the impression that she was 15, but she was actually 19. According to Kim, the man in question was 35. He took Gypsy back to his hotel room. Kim Blanchard said, "We were all overprotective of her through conventioneer intelligence. Dee Dee found them. She apparently knocked on the hotel room door with papers that showed Gypsy was a minor, and the man let Gypsy leave." After that incident, Dee Dee was furious to the point of public spectacle. She smashed the family computer with a hammer, cursed the internet to her friends. When she eventually replaced it, Gypsy was allowed to use the internet only with Dee Dee's supervision. And 4 months afterward, Kim Blanchard said, Gypsy was subdued. However, she wasn't acting any differently than a normal child who was in trouble at that point. The whole situation has left bystanders in Springfield with feelings of guilt. "I just wish she would have come to me," Aaliyah Woodmansee told me. "A lot of people feel that way. If Gypsy had, just once, stood up and walked across the room, the spell would have been broken. But plainly, it wasn't that easy for her. In a way, that makes sense. She slipped, as people are fond of saying, through just about everyone's cracks. She had no reason to believe that her life would change. Until, apparently, she met Nick DeJohn. Under other circumstances, a tale of child abuse as long and as involved as what Gypsy experienced might have inspired public sympathy. But something about the fraud element deeply offended people, particularly those who hadn't known Gypsy or Dee Dee at all. Evidently, many people are worried that others who are sick and disabled don't deserve their generosity. So Facebook groups began to spring up. They splintered on whether Gypsy could say to be blamed, whether Rod and Christy were in some way in on the fraud. Some groups ballooned to over 10,000 members, some of them posting every day about the crime, voicing unfounded theories about what had happened. If their speculation had been confined to private forums, it might have been one thing. But more than a few of these amateur detectives were not satisfied with online discussion. They wanted to affect the case in real time. A street Louis-based thought catalog writer named Megan Pack kept track of tips she'd gotten from Facebook about Gypsy and Dee Dee's crimes and posting them to a much-referenced post. Pack told me she called the police detective to inform him of all she'd learned. Random observers on Facebook also called the police with their various speculations. Then, when court hearings began, they came to those, too. One even showed up to Dee Dee's house when the initial "that bitch is dead" Facebook post in Springfield.
Kat, she did for the longest time because her mother told her when she was younger, well, not too much younger, but that as she was younger and getting older, that if she walked, the more she walked, it would make her sicker. It would make her conditions worse. She believed that because why wouldn't she? You know, when she was younger, until she got to a certain age, she didn't realize that what her mother was doing was wrong. Okay. Which is ridiculously horrifying in this poor little girl's mind at that time. So she kept telling her that, you know, you can't walk, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's going to make it worse. She told her child that eventually these situations were going to take her life. Okay. But she had to do everything her mother said and take the medications, and that would keep her alive. That's how deep this woman drilled this into this child's head. And the father tried to be involved in her life, guys. He really did. Dee Dee just exited him out in every situation that she possibly could. So her wacko mom bears a striking resemblance to Yolanda Saldivar. Yeah, oh yeah. Guess she does kind of look like her a little bit. You know what I mean? There we go. Yes. Please, guys, check out Miss Heather's channel if you have a chance. It's called Simply Heather X. Show some love. Subscribe. She deserves it, folks. You guys know how hard she works in here. And you know it's going to be something good to check out. So give her some love, guys. Subscribe. Check it out. Please, please. Much appreciated, folks. Moving on. But yeah, that's why. It was very sad. Just very, very sad.
She hadn't known Gypsy or Dee Dee at all. She was shooed away from the crime scene by the neighbors and the police. The result was informational chaos. Kim Blanchard's GoFundMe became a flashpoint for online investigators. When Dee Dee's financial fraud was revealed by the sheriff, Kim shut it down, but not before the groups had taken it upon themselves to investigate Kim herself. Several thought Kim and David Blanchard were lying about their involvement with Gypsy and Dee Dee and assumed they were relatives because of their last name. Christy Blanchard, meanwhile, was still gathering a lot of the news about her stepdaughter from Facebook. That's when she discovered that many thought she and Rod were in on Dee Dee's plans. Others thought Rod must have been a neglectful father who didn't financially support his own child. He said, "They don't understand that I've always been supportive." In every way, Christy chimed in. In fact, if anything, Dee Dee may have had so much money Gypsy and Nick had escaped with about $4,000 from Dee Dee's safe because they were receiving his support checks. Christy tried, at first, to defend herself and Rod to these groups, but it turned out they were hard to convince. She said, it was hell. She withdrew from all the groups and asked friends and family to stop accepting new friend requests, which were pouring in. The neighbors in Springfield also had this problem. It was like, forget you. Amy Pinniger said of the few attempts she made to correct the online sleuths on their factual errors. The obsessives ended up piling confusion onto the already confusing situation Dee Dee had created. And they proved pretty resilient. At the hearing I attended in September 2015, 2 people from the largest Facebook group were there. After the hearing, they made a beeline for the local television crew and started talking to them. Gypsy's attorney, Michael Stanfield, saw them too and tried to hurry out of the courtroom to confront them. He asked the television crew, who were those people? What did they say? For a while, it seemed like Gypsy's case would, eventually, go to trial. The prosecutor declined to go for the death penalty, but Gypsy and Nick were charged with first-degree murder. As the investigation into the crime continued, text messages between the two appeared to discuss Dee Dee's death. Honey, you forget I am ruthless, and my hatred of her will force her to die. Go to John texted Gypsy. It's my evil side doing it. He won't mess up because he enjoys killing. Prosecutors also said they found social media evidence of Gypsy directly asking Go to John to kill her mother. However, these have never been made public. Documents from pretrial discovery show him telling a friend about Gypsy's desire to murder her mother as early as May 2014. Go to John referred to his evil side because he and Gypsy had constructed an elaborate online fantasy life, mainly through a jigsaw puzzle of Facebook accounts. They were into BDSM imagery. They had specific names and roles for each other. They took pictures of themselves in costumes. Gypsy dressing up as one comic book character Harley Quinn, posing with a knife. Reality and fantasy blended quite a lot for both of them. Even now, it's not clear why Go to John participated in this scheme. He had no history of violence. His prior arrest was in 2013 at a McDonald's, where he watched pornography on a tablet. But both he and Gypsy told police he was the one to wield the knife. She said that while her mother was being stabbed, she was in the other room, listening. One of the taxi drivers who carted the pair around Springfield after the murder told interviewers they thought Gypsy was the ringleader. Gypsy's attorney, Michael Stanfield, is a public defender. In an average year, he told me, he handles over 270 individual.
Mind you, real quick, Nick, her fiance at that time, her boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, that did this, he was mentally disabled, okay? I would venture to say he was probably borderline mentally retarded, and he didn't catch on to things. His mother claimed that he had a mental disability, so on and so forth. And a lot of people are saying that she took advantage of that, knew that about him, and so on and so forth. She wanted something done, and she needed to get away from her mother. So, and he got life in prison, folks. She got 10 years. So there's that too to look at. Yeah, I thought that was weird too, Kat. Like, who does that? For what? Like, were you getting off with some chicken nuggets or something? Like, come on. I didn't get that one. But like I said, he's mentally disabled. The guy was not all together there. So remember that too.
Cases. He drew Gypsy's case at random and had no idea what he was in for. He said, I think this is probably the most complicated case I'll ever get. The Greene County Public Defender's Office was somewhat lucky because they could also pull a former leading public defender, Clayton Baker, out of retirement for the case. Stanfield also had an investigator and a paralegal working on it. Chris
Asperger, right. Nikki's correct. Asperger's, and just so you guys know, Asperger's is a form of ADHD. ADHD is a form of Asperger's. They're all forms of autism, so on and so forth. Most people, males especially, not as much with females, but males especially that have ADHD, Asperger's, or autism, in some senses are very, very sexually distracted or very interested in sexual interactions. We'll just put it that way, okay? So, right, Nikki, I get it. There was other things going on up there with him along with that stuff. So, he was very sexually oriented in a lot of ways. So that's why when Gypsy did what she did with the lingerie, the wigs, pretending to be somebody else on the computer for him, he was all about that and fell in love with her for those reasons. So, he stated multiple times after he took her life, he wanted to take any dignity. Yes. Yes, very much so.
and Rod had no money to hire a private attorney. However, they told me repeatedly as I reported this story that they would never have sent Gypsy to rich attorneys because they found Stanfield so capable and reassuring. The process of figuring out what had happened was, in a word, complex. Stanfield went down to Louisiana and dredged up some elements of DD's past. It took him months to get Gypsy's own medical records because DD had set up a power of attorney over Gypsy's medical decisions after Gypsy turned 18. Even though a power of attorney did not surrender Gypsy's right to look at her own medical documents, the hospitals refused to help. When the records finally arrived, though they were so damning that Stanfield called the prosecutor without investigating further. A plea deal was worked out. On July 5th, Gypsy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The judge gave her the minimum sentence, 10 years. With the year she served, she'll be eligible for parole in about 7.5 years, at the end of 2023. By then, she will be 32 years old. For his part, Godijon is still scheduled for trial in November. It was not, Stanfield told me, a listed condition of Gypsy's plea bargain that she testifies against him. At a recent hearing in mid-July, he looked bewildered and lost, a beard concealing most of his face. His family never seems to come to hearings. Gypsy is now an inmate being processed at the Women's Eastern Reception, Diagnostic and Correctional Center in Vandalia, Missouri. Her hair is long, her skin clear and healthy, and she wears proper adult glasses. She's off all her medications, and there have been no health problems in the year she's been out of her mother's control. Most of my clients lose weight in prison, Stanfield pointed out, because the food is so bad. Gypsy gained 14 pounds in the 12 months she spent in Greene County Jail before her plea. Kim Blanchard, who visited Gypsy once in jail, told me she looked much more like the person that she was, which was the complete opposite of the person that I knew, and it was like she had a costume on that whole time and then took it off. But obviously, there are lingering effects. When I last checked her inmate record, it still had her last name misspelled, bearing the extra E that her mother somehow thought was a good disguise. In the Greene County Jail, Gypsy had a therapist she saw once a week. It remains to be seen if she'll have one in her new home or if the therapist will be trained to attend to the specifics of her unique situation. Rod and Christy saw Gypsy not too long after the plea bargain. It has been a relief to know what's going to happen to her. They don't know if they're going to sue the hospitals or doctors that Gypsy saw all her life. They'll decide it after everything has settled down, after they can adequately talk to Gypsy. While the case was pending, they never discussed the crime her. The prosecutor forbade it. Now there will be more to talk about. They're hoping to get up to her new facility 2 or 3 times a year. It's a long drive, and there's still the matter of money. Months ago, Rod and Christy told me they still catch Gypsy in small lies about her life, things she's clearly afraid to be frank with them about. It worries them. Christy said, "Of course, we want her to get better about that." When I spoke to them more recently, Rod's voice was sagging a little. He sounded older. He said he'd started to wonder what exactly DD had told Gypsy about him all those years. He had only begun to pose those questions. He was wondering, lately, he said, how DD had managed to be so friendly on the phone all those years if she hated him so much. He asked Gypsy about it. She said, "Keep your enemies close," Gypsy told him. "Most of the year I spent reporting this article, the case was pending, and wasn't able to speak to Gypsy herself. After the plea deal, that changed. I sent her a note. She called me from prison in Missouri to talk in short conversations broken up over a few days. Her voice is still high-pitched, though now that we know what we know, it no longer seems unusually high at all. People heard what they wanted to. Gypsy speaks in long, beautiful sentences. She is sometimes so eloquent in conversation that it is hard to believe anyone could have ever talked with her and thought her slow, as some put it. It reminded me of all the doctors who wrote in her files that despite Gypsy's alleged cognitive defect, she had a rich vocabulary. She was eager to talk, barely able to contain herself once she started. She wants people to know, she said, that this wasn't a situation where a girl killed her mom to be with her boyfriend. This was a situation, she said, of a girl trying to escape abuse. In prison, she's hoping to join all sorts of programs to help people. She wants to write a book to help others in her situation. I asked her what I'd long been waiting to ask her: when did she realize her life was different, that there was something wrong? She meant the time when she ran away with the man at the convention in 2011. When her mother came to take her back, she began to wonder why she wasn't allowed to be alone, to have friends. About her mother, her opinion seems to waver. Gypsy said, "The doctors thought that she was so devoted and caring. I think she would have been the perfect mom for someone that actually was sick. But I'm not sick. There's that big difference." Gypsy still doesn't feel she actively deceived anyone. "I feel like I was just as used as everybody else," she said. "She used me as a pawn. I was in the dark about it. The only thing I knew was that I could walk and that I could eat. As for everything else, well, she'd shave my hair off. And she'd say, 'It's gonna fall out anyway, so let's keep it nice and neat.'" Gypsy said her mother told her she had cancer, too, and would say that her medication was cancer medication. She just accepted it. As for a childlike demeanor, Gypsy grew defensive when I asked her about it. It's not my fault. I can't help it. This is my voice. Often, it didn't occur to her to question any of it, and when it did, she worried about hurting her mother's feelings. It often seems to Gypsy, even now, that Dee Dee really thought she was sick. I was afraid that we were gonna get in trouble, Gypsy said. The line between right and wrong was kinda blurred, 'cause that's the way I was taught. I just grew up that way. When I think about it now, she added, I wish I would have reached out to somebody and told somebody before I told Nick. She mostly used the internet late at night when her mother was asleep. Nick, she said, was the first person who had offered her natural protection. She believed him. Ultimately, after everything that happened, she said she thinks he has anger issues. She repeatedly takes responsibility for the murder. What I did was wrong. I'll have to live with it. But she said Nick is the one who took a plot between us both and made it into action. Gypsy was the one who had the idea to post about the murder on Facebook so that the police would come to check on her mom. She recalled asking Nick, can we please just post something on Facebook, something alarming, that would make people call the police? But she said he told her what to write. I asked repeatedly, are you angry? With your mom? With the doctors? She will admit only to frustration. It makes me frustrated that none of the other doctors could see that I was perfectly healthy. That my legs were not skinny, like someone who was paralyzed. That I don't need a feeding tube. Stuff like that. In jail, Gypsy had access to tablet computers. She looked up the definition of Munchausen after hearing the word so often used to describe her situation. Her mother matched every symptom, she told me. Every once in a while, I'd get Gypsy explaining some element of her abuse in such detail that something in me would break. Once, feeling speechless but aware that the clock was ticking on her phone time, I blurted out, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Gypsy immediately switched into the girl she was back in those feel-good local news interviews. It's okay. I mean, honestly, it's made me a stronger person because I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Even on the subject of her prison sentence, Gypsy is a model of radical acceptance. She's told people she feels more accessible in prison than she did when living with her mom. This time is good for me, she said to me. I've been raised to do what my mother taught me to do. And those things aren't perfect. She taught me to lie, and I don't want to lie. I want to be a good, honest person.
Okay. And there is that part of that, folks. All right. I'm sorry for the robotic narrator. It's not my choice, but that's the only one I
Due to
could
this
get
case's graphic nature.
to work for you guys. My apologies, folks. Now, one moment here. All right. Appreciate all the comments you guys are putting out on this tonight. I really do. Okay. All right, where is it now? Come on. Okay. All right. And Okay, one moment, everybody. I'm trying to get this to load. All right. Here we go. This was, sorry, this content is via Amy's story time is where it came from. And this is Gypsy herself talking about her scenario. Okay. One moment here. Subtitles. That way, in case you can't understand it, folks. All right. Make sure you let me know if there's audio issues again. I know, and that's what's sad too. I agree with you on that. That she felt more free and safer and happier being in prison, guys. That'll tell you how bad it was. So, all right.
Or my life was different from other kids, but people thought of us as, the sweetest mother-daughter family ever. The best people in the world.
What illnesses did your mom say that you had?
Asthma, epilepsy, hearing impaired, vision impaired, fed with a feeding tube, paralyzed from the waist down, slow, so retardation, and among other things, I just can't remember.
I mean, look at this list, you guys. This is insane.
I was on breathing medication for seizures, a medication to help go to the bathroom, pain medication, anxiety medication, just everything. I would have to put on the breathing machine every night. I hated it though because it seemed to make my breathing worse, not better. And then another machine was for the feeding tube. It was controlling what I eat. My medications would be put through there. I really wouldn't even have to be awake, so she could put whatever in my body and I wouldn't even know.
So where are you going today?
I'm going to Children's Mercy Hospital to see.
Can you guys hear this okay? It seems kind of low. Let me know. And that wasn't even all of it, Star. There was a lot more medications than that. I mean, that's insane. You give this to a child. And you guys see, now that she's off these medications and she's in prison, yeah, but she's off the medication. She gained weight. She's able to eat normal food. She's actually, a pretty young woman. I just wanted to know if you needed it to be louder or not. That's all. You can hear it clear, though. That's good. Okay.
And we'll be back.
And we'll be back soon.
Not yet.
If we'd be going to the doctor, she would do all the talking. I'd always have a stuffed animal or a Barbie doll. She'd just tell me, just play with my Barbie doll.
Guys, this little girl was taking Vicodin, Percocet, Demerol, all these multiple other pain medications at like 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, to the point where she had almost a slight addiction to these. Same with the Yeah, there was more meds, CC, yes. Pain medication, Xanax, mood altering stuff. I mean, it was insane. Insane. I'm surprised that this little girl doesn't have a addiction issue. Do you know what I mean? And I know when this first happened, when she took off with Nick after this happened, that she was still eating Xanax because she was freaking out. You know what I mean? Because of what had happened. So yeah, there was all of that stuff. You know, her liver actually probably is gonna have some issues, guys, down the road. I'll be honest with you. I mean, she's been off all these medications for 10 years now, but still. Nikki says the stomach stoma took a year to heal in prison. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I agree with you on that one, Kat. I agree with that one. I really do.
If the doctor would come to examine me, just stay in the wheelchair, be calm, play with your doll, and don't move your legs. I was just as much in the dark as everybody else. The only thing I knew is that I could walk. As for everything else, you know, the leukemia, the epilepsy, I was taking medication that she said was cancer medicine. She would shave my head and say, well, it's going to fall out anyway, so let's just keep it nice and neat. I just went on blind faith that a mother knows best.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely.
You're supposed to love and protect your children. How could you do this to your child?
Gypsy Rose Blanchard was
that was her father and stepmother,
and viciously subjected to, in my opinion, Munchausen by proxy as anyone I've come across. Munchausen by proxy involves a caregiver who either feigns or actually induces illness in her children, and her goal is some kind of emotional gratification, looking for sympathy, attention, care, concern that she feels unable to get in any other way. It is a form of child abuse, first and foremost.
All right, guys. So I had a couple other little things I wanted you to see too, but this came from, where'd this one thing go? This was her stepmother talking about the scenario. Okay. This was actually on Dr. Oz at one point.
We are back.
Okay, one moment here. Get this to you guys. This is her stepmother talking about it, as I said, after the fact.
Talking about the very tragic life of Gypsy Blanchard, who was serving a 10-year prison sentence for the murder of her mom, Dee Dee. I'm joined now by Gypsy's stepmom, Christy. Remember that Gypsy endured years of mental and physical abuse at the hands of her very sick mom. I think the question everyone in America is asking now is, why didn't you and your husband intervene?
We didn't know. She kept us at a distance. We thought that she was doing a great thing as in raising her child, a sick child. And we didn't know. I mean, I wish we would have, but she kept us the right amount of length that we just never questioned. Who's going to question a mother that is raising a sick child 24/7?
Yeah, and you thought that Gypsy couldn't walk, so I'm sure you were surprised when you saw Gypsy appear in court walking.
Surprise was an understatement. I'll never forget when I was sitting on the sofa and watching it, and I was happy that, you know, like, oh my gosh, she's walking. But then again, because of why she's walking, it took me aback.
I have some pieces in the trial I want you guys to see. I want you to see Gypsy, the way she acts during the trial part.
I can't imagine what you were thinking and how you processed that after watching it.
I cried. You know, I couldn't believe, like, okay, if she could walk, what else can she do? What doesn't she have? What does she really have? It's mind that this could happen to just a normal family, you know.
Why do you think Dee Dee did this? I mean, you know her as well as anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Some
We thought we knew her as well as, you know, we could, but
they're planning on it.
being a mother
Pookie.
myself, I can't comprehend. You want your kids to thrive, succeed, fall in love, cry to you when their heart gets broken for the first time. You know, watch them go to their prom. And she didn't. She just wanted to keep Gypsy as her cash cow.
I also have an idea too. When you and Gypsy's father got together, I started seeing in the timeline really things amping up with the hospital visits and the treatments. So have you ever wondered if it had any correlation, your relationship with Gypsy's dad?
I think so. I think the happier we were, the sicker she got. You know, and as Dee Dee being a sick child, as what her mom had said when they went tell her that she was pregnant, her mom said, Dee Dee, you shouldn't be carrying a child because you were a sick child. And I think light bulb.
Was she really sick, or do you think the same thing happened to her?
I think she was, to a certain extent. There was a picture of Dee Dee as a young child in the hospital bed with her mom on the side of her.
You mentioned that you had an experience working in the hospital with Dee Dee. Are you angry at the fact that the system, doctors, nurses, others didn't figure out
exactly, Kat,
there was a problem here?
Very, very angry. You know, you can't take a mother's, you know, word for it. I know when my kids were young and they were old enough to talk and tell the doctor what they felt, I allowed that, you know, because they knew what they were feeling. You know, I didn't, you know, I would let them tell her. Gypsy never got to say anything. Her mom put her in the corner in the wheelchair and made her play with her dolls or whatever, even going through the lengths of putting Orajel in her mouth so she could drool, so she could get.
So she would drool and have her salivary glands removed because of that. That's disgusting, you guys. Okay. So now this woman has to go through the rest of her life not being able to have that, you know, natural saliva in her mouth like she was supposed to. That's some deep, sick thought to do. Like, okay, if I put Orajel all through her mouth, she's going to drool and they're going to believe me. And there it is. And she's not going to talk about it because she's scared to death. This is pure insanity, guys. I've heard of Munchausen's by proxy, right? Like I said, I think my wife had a version of it, my first wife. But never, ever have I ever seen a case to this extent in my life. I mean, this is beyond. You saw that list of things that she said she had. I don't think there's a human being on this planet that's ever been born with all of that stuff. Ever, guys. That's every disease you can get, and then some that don't make sense to go with the other diseases. Do you know what I mean? I think most people do, Kat. Most people do, okay? She lived the first 20, 21, 25 years of her life like this, okay? Now, here's the good part in this. Thank God. I still don't feel like she should have gotten the amount of what she got in prison. I think she should have been put in a state mental institution and had intense therapy for those 10 years, not prison, okay? I think she should have been taught how to be a person and how to deal with what her mother did to her. I think that's what she should have had for 10 years. Intense therapy, not prison. Prison doesn't do... She did get some help in prison, but I don't think that this woman would have done this in any other circumstance. She's a good-hearted person, guys. And that's really what she did. Is, you know, she escaped, and that's all it was. She was held captive by her own mother for 20 some odd years of her life and escaped, and she was punished for that. Mama Bear said earlier when we were talking about this that it's along the lines of kind of like self-defense. If somebody goes at you to shoot a gun, most people shoot back, or if somebody swings at you, you swing back. It's almost the same thing. There's a lot more psychological basis to it, but you know, right. I just don't understand it. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep talking through this, but
two upper salivary glands taken out. How did these doctors not further testing? I don't understand. I really don't. I think every doctor, every nurse, even in schools, I think they need to take a class for Munchausen by proxy.
I'm going to talk about that because I think, unfortunately, and in this case, when it became concerning to doctors, the mom has the ability to leave.
Yeah.
I need to be aware of this condition a lot more common than possible. The person to find out who's doing this are going to be relatives. Now, since the murder, you've actually gotten closer to Gypsy.
Oh, yeah.
You've been able to visit her and talk to her and Joe. Give us some insights about where she is in life, what are her aspirations, and what kind of relationship are you and her dad having with her?
At first, there was baby steps with her. You know, we didn't want to push too hard and ask too many questions. We let her tell us what she wanted. And a few months, into it, she, tells me, I need to tell you, I have a confession. And I said, okay. She said, I didn't like you at first. And I'm like, well, given, what your mom told you, I totally get it. And she said, but I love you. She said, you let me talk. You listen. If I have a problem, I could come to you. You love me for who I am, flaws and all. That's what a mom is.
But Dr. Oz, Christy is more than just a good confidant. She actually had a big part in this case. After Gypsy's arrest, you went to Dee Dee's home, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And what you found was shocking.
Shocking wasn't even a word that I could express. I kept passing this closet, and I opened the closet, and from top to bottom, as neat as can be, medicine.
Oh my goodness.
But another catcher is I found a prescription pad she stole from one of the hospitals. I'm like, how did she do that? You're a doctor. You don't leave a prescription pad. Not one doctor I've ever been to has left a prescription pad.
But that ended up becoming important evidence. They didn't even realize she had.
I've seen and heard that happen around here, but how do you get away with it for that long? That's insane. That's just nuts, guys. That's crazy.
Lying about her daughter's medical condition. She
Right.
could have gone to jail for a lot longer. Gypsy, by the way, is eligible for parole in 2024. She's going to be 32 years of age when that happens. What hopes and dreams does she have?
To walk outside, check the mail, play with our dogs, have like a family night, spend time with her brother, spend time with her sister.
What does she think of Nick now that he's been for first-degree murder? Does she stay in contact with him? Does she want to have anything to do with him?
She's done. She had figured out that it wasn't love. It was more of a infatuation. Somebody was paying attention to her and accepted that what she was going through and loved her. And I'm sorry, but you just don't say you want to kill my
Very
mom.
possible,
Okay.
Kat.
You don't do it. She wants to put this behind her now. She wants to put it in the past and heal. We all need to heal. It's hard. You just think one day, oh, I might get a call and this is what's going to happen. No, you don't ever want to get that call. But as for Nick, she doesn't love him. She has no communication with him whatsoever.
I know why she loves you. And thank you for helping to tell the story because it's going to change a lot of lives all around America. Be sure to subscribe to my channel.
Yeah. I mean, this woman lived off of this child for years, guys. I mean, financially, she duped everybody. It's insane. Obviously this woman had some sort of intelligence to be able to do this. She used it in the wrong way, obviously. The very, 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 very wrong way, but she did it. She did for a long, long period of time. Hold on a second here. I got some clips of the trial I want you guys to see. I want you to see what if I can find it here, what she was like at the trial. 'Cause, 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 we at here? Look at my downloads. Time to somebody remind me to clean out my downloads again. Okay, I got these pieces here. All right, let's go with this here. This is Gypsy getting on the stand herself. Oh, wow. All right, here we go. I think that her father and stepmother are going to, along with therapy, that she's going to have continued therapy. I'm sure that's part of her release, considering. But yeah, all right, here we go, folks.
All right, are we ready? All right, are we ready for your witnesses? Your witnesses? Yes, and yes, they're mine. All right. Let's give this your footage. Parties are all present. Jury's not present. If I understand, wish you
absolutely.
the first witness.
Yes, Judge, we would call Gypsy Blanchard to witness stand.
All right, and as agreed, we're going to have her seated.
Yes, before the
jury, and we'll go through. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it without a recess. But if not, we'll take a recess. But they won't see her walking because she's in the streets. So, give Ms. Blanchard in. You heard her is here. So we got that. Yeah, Ms. Blanchard. So if you just have her come out here. Ms. Blanchard. So let me see what we're doing. Yeah, be careful on that stuff. Have a seat. There's water there for you. I think, isn't there? There's a fresh bottle of water for you if you need to. Okay. All right. Get settled in. So we're ready for the jury.
yes, Judge.
All right. Okay, bring the jury. You can stand.
All right.
Please be seated. Mr. Perry, do you have a witness you wish to call?
Gypsy Blanchard, Judge.
Ms. Blanchard, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the cause now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Sir.
Please tell us your name.
Gypsy R. Blanchard.
What do you go by?
Gypsy.
Okay. Gypsy, could you speak up just a bit? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
That chair won't move. You can hold the microphone if you want to take it out. Just lift it straight out. There you go.
Is that better?
That's much better. How old are you?
27.
Where were you born?
Raised in Louisiana.
Where were you living in the summer of 2015, in June of 2015?
Springfield, Missouri.
Do you remember the address?
I don't remember now. I'm sorry.
How long had you lived at that address in Springfield?
About 7 years.
And prior to that, where did you live?
Slidell, Louisiana.
And when did you move to Missouri?
In 2005.
And who did you move to Missouri with?
My mother,
And what was her name?
Claudina Blanchard.
Did she go by any other names?
Dee Dee.
So if I say Dee Dee, you'll know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know a Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes, sir.
And when did you meet Nicholas?
By the way, guys, this was 4 years ago, just so you guys know, when he had his trial. So I'm just trying to keep everybody up to date. Sorry.
Godejohn.
In October of 2012.
How did you meet him?
On an online Christian dating website.
Do you remember the name of that site?
ChristianDatingForFree.com.
How old were you when you met Nick?
About 21.
In June of 2015, what did you consider your relationship to Nick to be? What kind of relationship?
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
And when did you become boyfriend and girlfriend?
In October 2012.
When did you first meet Nick in person?
March of 2015.
So between October of 2012 and March of 2015, you hadn't actually met Nick in person?
That is correct.
How did you, what type of relationship did you have during that period of time?
Online relationship.
And by online, what do you mean?
Strictly communicating through Facebook.
Any other than Facebook?
Instant text messaging, emails.
All by way of computer and cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Did you send videos to each other?
Yes, sir.
Prior to March of 15, when you indicated you met Mr. Godejohn for the first time in person, had your mother met him?
No, sir.
Did she know he existed?
No, sir.
Why is it she didn't know?
Because it was a secret relationship and my mother would never allow me to have a boyfriend.
Why not?
Because she controlled every aspect of my life.
Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you were not allowed to date?
Yes.
How many times do you think?
I don't remember.
Did you and your mother ever have any discussions about whether you were ever going to be able to date?
Yes, sir.
Did you and Nick talk about that?
We may have.
What did your mother say about your ability to date going forward?
She said that it would never happen, that she would never allow it.
What about marriage? Did you and Nick ever talk about marriage?
Yes.
Did you and your mother ever discuss whether or not you'd be able to get married someday?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said that she wouldn't allow it.
In June of 2015, were you in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did Nick know you were in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Why were you in a wheelchair in June of 2015?
Because my mother forced me to be in one.
Do you know why you were forced to be in a wheelchair?
No, sir. She just forced me to be in one.
And how long had you been in a wheelchair as of June of 2015?
Since probably I was about 8 years old.
Was there a time between when you first were put in a wheelchair and June of 2015 that you figured out that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
When was that?
I always knew that I didn't need the wheelchair.
And how did you know that?
Because I could walk.
Did you and your mother obtain any kind of advantage by you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
What kind of advantage did you obtain?
Financial, attention, charity.
Financially mean money.
Yes, sir.
Did you obtain money as a result of you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How'd that work out? How'd that happen?
Okay, I'm going to object to the relevance of that. There's been no connection that the defendant knew any of this.
Well, I'm assuming, Ms. Perry, you're going to tie this up.
Right now. Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why you were required to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
I'll overrule the objection.
Could you tell the jury why it is that you obtained money as a result of being in a wheelchair?
Because people felt sorry for me.
And they would do what?
And Judge, I'm just going to object to general relevance at this point.
I'll allow it for the time being.
This is not relevant to Nick's trial. I don't understand why this guy's doing that.
I asked you why you obtained an advantage for being in a wheelchair. You said people gave you money. And I think my next question was, why did they give you money?
Because they felt sorry for me. They believed the lie. They believed the fraud.
When did you tell Nick about the wheelchair? Did you be in a wheelchair?
I think maybe a month or so after we met.
When did you tell Nick that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
A year into our relationship.
So if your relationship began in October of 2012, it would have been sometime in 2013 that you first told him that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair.
That is correct.
Were you ill during this period of time?
No, sir.
Did you ever tell Nick that you were ill or that you had illnesses?
I told him that I had illnesses. Yes, sir.
Did you ever tell him that you really weren't ill?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell him you really weren't ill?
The same time that I told him that I didn't need to be in the wheelchair.
What illnesses did you believe you had?
Cancer. muscular dystrophy. I needed glasses. I needed hearing aids. Seizure disorder. And I can't remember what else.
And when you figure out you weren't actually sick?
I started to piece things together when I was about 19 years old. Then I didn't understand the full extent of how healthy I was.
You guys talking about
When did you, and by run away, I mean from your mother. When did you run away?
In the spring of 2011.
Did you tell Dick about that?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell Dick about that?
I don't remember the exact time.
Was it before your mother's murder?
Yes.
Did you ever consider running away after that? After you ran away in 2011?
Yes, but I knew that it would end badly.
What happened when you ran? Tell us about running away in 2011.
It was in the middle of the night, and I packed a small bag of stuff, and my mother was asleep. So I left the house, and I met up with one of my friends.
And where did you go?
To first at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, and then to his house.
And at some point, did your mom figure out where you were?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
4 hours later.
What happened when your mother figured out where you were?
She took me back home. She smashed my computer and my cell phone. She chained me to a bed for 2 weeks.
Did you ever tell Nick about all that?
Yes.
The only time you ran away?
Yes.
Did you receive any other physical abuse as a result of running away other than what you already told Gary?
Yes.
What other abuse?
Hitting, punching, starvation.
Did you tell Nick everything that had happened between you and your mother during the course of your relationship with him?
Most, but not all.
All the stuff we talked about is stuff you actually did tell him?
Yes.
And stuff he knew as of June of 2015?
Yes.
And when did you tell him these things? All at once or over a period of time?
Over a period of time.
Beginning at what point in the relationship?
He knew since day one that my mother never allowed me to date. But I don't remember exactly when I told him every single little detail that was going on in my home life.
But you did tell him everything you did tell him by the time of June of 2015?
Yes, sir.
I assume since you believed you'd be sick, you met regularly with doctors?
Yes, sir.
Did you also meet with social workers? Do you remember that?
No, sir, I don't remember. What's happening?
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
Did you and Nick?
And she holds no bones about saying it. She didn't try to blame it on him, say it was his idea. It was her idea. She was forthcoming 100%, guys, and 100% honest about it. So, and I don't blame her for that, because I don't think she saw any other way out, because her mother was so manipulative to her. There were guilt issues. There was this. There at one point, her mother became type 2 diabetic. Okay. Went to the doctors. She had her with her. The doctor was explaining to the mother that she now needed to take insulin and this and that. And the mother, in turn, is looking at her child, who was, I think at that time, maybe 17 or 18, stating, now you can never, her words were, I'm always going to need you now, Gypsy. You have to take care of mama now, Gypsy, this and that, Gypsy, so on and so forth. It was almost like she wanted to be that way. And the mother, in turn, stopped taking her medications for her diabetes and made herself sicker. So towards the end, before she was unalived, she was in bad shape anyway, guys. She probably wouldn't have lasted much longer. And that was her way of trying to force Gypsy to stay with her, to take care of her Otherwise, she told her she would die. Again, it was mind melting on both ends, guys. You know, it was just, it's insanity. The whole thing is completely insane.
The characters, and because I didn't have any hair at the time.
Why did you not have hair?
My mother would shave off my hair and tell people I had cancer.
Was any of this stuff non-consensual on your part? The personalities?
No.
Now, you mentioned the idea to kill your mother came out about the year before it happened.
Yes, sir.
And what was going on in your home life that made you reach the point where you did that or made that decision?
I was growing increasingly desperate to get out of my home life.
Did you tell Nick that?
Yes.
And what was your mom doing that caused you to be more desperate?
Things were getting physically and more physically abusive. The hitting was more. The starving was more.
Now, you mentioned you were in a wheelchair. Were you required to act any certain way when you were in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How was that?
She would have me stay very quiet and pretend like I couldn't walk.
Mr. Perry, can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Can I sit for a second?
I started telling you about it.
That's pretty much the end of that. That was the first day she took the stand in Nick's trial, and we know he was found guilty. Like I said, she even said, you know, it was my idea. So she got 10 years. I still think that's too much. I mean, I understand that she needed to be taught right from wrong. You can't just do this and that. But honest to God, guys, like I think she's obviously an intellectual person and does have intelligence, folks. She's not dumb. She's very smart, in my opinion. Every conversation I've ever heard her have, very smart. She was smart enough to know what her mother was doing, okay, and how bad it was. So, I mean, I don't know. And I think, I honestly think that he may have gotten a little too much time myself, being that he was mentally disabled. You know, I think life in prison for, like, his mind is just, I think that was too much for him. Of course, he needed what he should have gotten, some kind of a punishment for what he did, but life in prison, like I said, he's basically mentally retarded, folks. That just that didn't make any sense to me. Not at all. With parole and stipulations, right. So I'm hoping that he may get some kind of parole for this, because I truly feel like he thought he was helping her, okay? And he probably really did love her, based on the fact that he probably never had a girlfriend like that in his life because of, you know, his disabilities. But, you know, I don't know. He had a dark side to him, as Nikki was talking about earlier too. But I think that all went along with his disability, guys. So I don't know. And then I'll show you a piece of this here. She is now married. She got married in prison. Like I said, I think she's come a long way, considering, and I think, you know, she's in good health considering what she could be right now. This woman could be a drug addict right now, folks. She could have liver failure right now, folks. I mean, all of these things, the things that her mother put on her could have caused her to have some very serious issues health-wise, you know. Well, obviously no. Right, Pookie, that's the thing right there. He's very, very violent, and that usually can't be fixed. There's something cracked up there, obviously, along with his mental illness or his mental disability. There definitely needs to be therapy. Typically, there's not therapy given to people that go to prison for what he did. Her situation, I'm sure there was, but he basically went to prison just for the unaliving itself. Okay. And I feel that it's unfair based on his psychological breakdown. You know what I mean? To an extent. But like Pookie said, he's very violent, and he had two sides. His name was Nick. And as he had explained to her, he said, if you ask Nick, meaning me, when he was telling, he said this to her, okay? If you ask Nick to do this, he'll tell you no, because I don't believe in violence. But if you ask Victor to do it, there's a very big chance he'll do it. Okay? That's mental illness on top of mental disability, folks. Right. I think he most definitely should have been put into a state, federal run institution, in my opinion. For sure. So, hold on a moment here, and let's get this up rolling.
The 10-year prison sentence.
Damn it. Hold on. I forgot to do that again. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Let me give you the audio again. Sorry. All right. Here we go.
Rose Blanchard gets married in prison. ET can confirm the 30-year-old tied the knot with Ryan Scott Anderson in Missouri on June 27th, amid the 10-year prison sentence she's currently serving. Little is known about Gypsy's new husband, but according to their marriage license, we know Ryan hails from Louisiana. But Ryan wasn't Gypsy's first serious romance in prison. She was previously engaged to a man named Ken in 2019. They met through the prison's pen pal program, but the two called it off that same year. Gypsy's currently serving time in prison for the 2015 murder of her mother, Dee Blanchard.
How would you describe your mom?
Unique. I mean, I used to always think that maybe she's a little overprotective. And so if I had to say one word about her, it would be overprotective.
Dee suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy and manipulated Gypsy into thinking she needed a wheelchair and was suffering from a series of chronic illnesses.
And you know what, folks? Something that she never needed glasses. She never needed glasses. And when you see her and her, it's been getting better from what I understand. It's kind of been corrected. But her eyes crossing was because she didn't need glasses. You see what I'm saying? It's unreal. It is unreal. I mean, it's still her mother, Nikki, regardless. This is the woman that raised her, gave birth to her. It's a mental thing, I think. It's still her mother. And there was some love for that woman that she spent her whole life with up to that point. That's in her heart. She felt bad, guys. Understand, after this happened, she asked Nick multiple times to alert authorities so that her mother's not there alone like that for so long. They bonded in a deep way, her and her mother. At one point, all she felt was it was just her and her mother alone in the world. I understand, Nikki. I'm just telling you that's probably why she defends, or not defends, but explains, I should say. I think she knows who her mother is. And maybe she felt at some point that her mother couldn't help herself either. You know what I mean? I don't really know if they do, Pookie. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if this is going to work out. Once she's out and free finally, because understand, guys, she's never actually been free her whole life. 31 years old. She's never lived free. She was under her mother's thumb for all those years, and then went to prison directly after that. And she's been there for 10 years. So at 31 years old, when she does get out and can live free and and understand, she never got to be a child either. That was all taken from her. So she's probably got some bit of an internal child or an internal immaturity in her that needs to come out. She never got to sow her wild oats. all the things that we do as teenagers and kids and growing up into adults and all that. She never did any of that, folks. She's been held captive by her mother, the prison systems, her whole life, the whole 31 years of her life. Okay. So there may be some things that happen when she gets out. The marriage, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Well, it could happen, Nikki. It depends on how he is. She may not be able to survive without being told what to do. Do you understand? Like, she may not be able to live her life without having somebody run her because she doesn't know how. And it's been 31 years of this, guys. She's in prison being told what to do. She lived with her mother being told what to do. She's never been able to be Gypsy Rose Blanchard at all. At all. So I'm kind of worried for her. You know, I'm hoping that the therapy she's received may have her prepared for that. I pray to God that her father and stepmother they're prepared for how to deal with her, to help her and keep helping her. Because this is going to be, she's going to have some issues the rest of her life. We know that. Probably a lot of anxiety. Okay. She's obviously going to have PTSD. All of this stuff, guys. So she's going to have to have continued therapy throughout the rest of her life, I think. And may need to be on actual medications for other things. So
What illnesses did your mom say that you had?
Asthma, epilepsy, hearing impaired, vision impaired, fed with a feeding tube, paralyzed from the waist down.
After years of suffering, Gypsy met Nicholas Gudajan online. They formed a relationship and concocted a plan to kill Dee Dee, which they did in 2015. In 2019, their story was turned into a miniseries called The Act, starring Joey King and Patricia Arquette.
I wonder what it would look like if it grew in.
Probably be a rat's nest like mine.
To be able to portray a story like this, it's really a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity. It going into something like this with all that behind you. It's been such a really just great experience.
Joey, who completely transformed for this role, spoke to ET on set and explained why the public's perception of Gypsy might change after watching the series.
There's a lot of different opinions out there. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't sympathize with her at all. She murdered somebody and that's wrong. And then there's other people who are out there who are like, wow, this girl went through so much. I can't believe she's in prison. And I really think both parties are going to come out of this show with a new perspective of Gypsy, especially the people who think that she, deserves to just sit in prison. I mean, when you see what this girl went through.
In 2016, Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder and will be eligible for parole in 2024. As for Nicholas, he was convicted of first-degree murder in 2018 and is currently serving a life sentence.
all right, there it is, folks. That's the story of Miss Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Very sad. Right, exactly. Star says everyone did the thinking for her. She was brainwashed by her mother her entire life. She's never really had any life lessons and never lived in society as a person. She never has. She's never been an adult woman in the world, guys. And I pray to God that this woman gets help, as much help as she can possibly get. I hope her father and whatever family she has supports her to the full extent. I really do. Maybe we'll get lucky and this guy that she married is a good person with a good soul that just really was intrigued by her and fell in love with her. See, there's other sides of this that people look at this on the other side of it, guys. Sick daughter has controlling mom murdered. The twisted dick. Right. I mean, come on. I don't know, guys. Yeah, right. Does anybody have any questions or theories or thoughts or anything about this at all? I mean, you guys have been super interactive with this tonight. Welcome, Jody. So good to see you. Obviously, some people got bored with it and they took off, and that's okay. I understand. But like I said, the rest of you guys have had input the entire time. I appreciate that so very much. So very much. It pretty much, yeah, Nikki, you're right. It's pretty straightforward. I appreciate you guys being here tonight for this one. This one was very intriguing to me. It always has been from the beginning. The first time I ever saw this, very, very intriguing, very interesting to me. And I pray for this girl that her life come December when she's released, and she starts her life finally after being 31 years old and 31 years of being imprisoned in her own life, that she can start her life. And I hope the rest of her life is nothing but joyous, and that she gets what she wants. All she's ever wanted is to have a family and have children and to be loved the right way, guys. And I hope that that's what happens. I really do. I hope that that's what happens. This is one of mine too, Nikki. It always has been. It's been very intriguing, and it's always touched me in a soft spot. You know what I mean? It really has. Absolutely, Star. Absolutely. And I hope that none of what her mother did to her impedes the ability for her to have children, because medications can cause things that we just don't know. Okay. So. BF. Something in my opinion, yes, Heather, so we're gonna pull. In my opinion, there's got to be something possibly wrong with him to be, you know what I mean, even into this, after this scenario. But there's a grand possibility that it just interested him and then he fell for her. It happens, guys. It does happen, and I can pray for that. Big time, Star. Big time. It can cause liver issues, kidney problems, internal problems. I've heard of women going sterile from taking too much medication to where they cannot have children. I pray that doesn't happen, because that's all she's ever wanted, was to have her own family, her own children. You know what I mean? And I think after what she went through, that she deserves at least the utmost happiness that she can ever find in her life, at the very, very least. Okay. Yes. So the time has come, everybody, where we figure out what homework you're gonna have for Thursday. So before I say anything, does anybody have any suggestions for Thursday night? And again, guys, please leave me some DNA on that like button. Leave me some comments after this, please. I'd really like to know what you guys thought of this, period. And share this out if you can. I agree, Pookie. That's the way she can see what it's supposed to be like to raise and love a child. So does anybody have any... Well, you can just put it right in the chat, Star. And then that's what I want, is everybody just to throw it in the chat. Tell me your suggestions, and we will go along with the things I already have, on deck, and see what we can come up with. That's not a movie, Pookie. I know what you're talking about. We will get to it, my dear. I promise you that. It's going to be sometime this week. Wait, what? Okay. Why is it America is so fascinated with glamorizing the sacrifice of gorgeous white fools and ignores the tragedies of breathtaking women of color? I won't start over. Where did that even come from, Nikki? Let's not be let's just not talk about that one right now. That would take too much time. Yes. Okay. What are we talking about, Star? Wait, did I miss it? Oh, the Lou Pearlman story. Yeah, I know all about that one. Okay. I'll keep that one in mind. All right, well, nobody's saying anything. I will definitely keep that in mind for maybe a future story for sure. So we have the true story behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we have the Henry. Those are the two that we're choosing on tonight. I think I know what's going to win on this one. Oh, yeah, that was what I was saying. We did Boston Strangler last week, and I was telling everybody to watch that movie. It was a really good movie, by the way. So, neener. You guys are a mess. So, we're going to go with Texas Chainsaw first. Vote on that one. Absolutely, Star. No, we probably will down the road. Texas Chainsaw, and then like I said, Henry. It's another one that that's a crazy story as well. Vote. Give me your vote. Again, guys, while we're doing this, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And those of you that were here this morning, I do appreciate you for that as well, and for coming back. Tomorrow we will be live between 12 and 12:30. And we got something new for you guys. New case that we're going to be kicking out and start talking about. So I hope to see you all there for that, for sure. Bring your coffee, your tea, as I always say, and sit down and have a conversation with me. Because it's going to be an interesting one. We got a few on deck that are going to take up the week for sure. Absolutely, Nikki. Absolutely. Well, we hadn't seen you in a while, so it's good to have you back. Always appreciate your insight and very informative. Very much so. Banana. This one needs eaten. It's bruised. Oh, Mikey, my brother. Definitely. It was always interesting to me, Star. So somebody had brought this. I think Mama Bear actually brought this up. Yeah, Mama Bear. This was Mama Bear's idea. So sounds great, Jody. Another snowstorm. Are you kidding me? It's coffee time at the meatball. Yeah, that's another one we can definitely. I've already thought about that one, Nikki. We're definitely going to be looking into the Manson story for sure. Shoot, I was going to bring that one up tonight and I didn't. We're going to be looking into well, you guys get to choose, but eventually we're going to do it. We talked about it this morning, to be honest with you. And I just went brain dead, completely lost my train of thought. Nikki brought it up this morning, to be honest with you. It's the one that John Holmes was involved in. What was that again, Nikki? The Wonder. Oh, come on, Dago. Squeeze something out of this brain of yours. Wonderland Murders. Yes, we're going to be looking into that one for sure. It was a good movie, and the story behind it is insane too. So, all right. Did everybody vote? I got you, bro. I got you. I might have to have one cup because my eyes are crossing. Yeah, there was a lot on that one. I'll have to let you know when we do that one, Pookie. Maybe you'll like to join us. Maybe you'd like to join me up here, Pookie, for that one, and we can go over that together. You don't have to show your face if you're not comfortable. You can just do an icon. But, if you're interested, I'd love to have you join me since you know so much about it. You'd be able to talk right along with me, my dear. I have Sharon Tate's grave dirt. That's different. Definitely different. Yeah, right. Definitely, Mike. Definitely. I'm not going to. That's all you, Nikki. It's all you. So, again, Pookie, like I said, when we go to do that one, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to join me up here that night for it. The more, the better. Especially if you have insight into it, it would be so helpful. And I'm sure everybody would love to hear from your lovely voice rather than my crackly old smoker's voice. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, bro. Thanks for jumping in. All right, so the results on Texas Chainsaw for Thursday night are as 66% said yup, and 33% said nope. All right, so that handles that one. And I have a feeling I know where this is going to go, so this will probably be quick. Next. No, actually, it was 65 today, Mikey, and it's going to be 72 to 75 tomorrow, bro. So, I sound like I'm about 15, and that's perfectly fine with me, my dear. It has nothing to do with your voice. It's all about having you up here to assist me, and I would love to have you up here, especially if you have all the information on this. I mean, it would be super helpful to us. This one again, guys, is on Henry now. So we got 66% over 33% on Texas Chainsaw. Let's see what Henry does. I have a feeling, like I said, I know where that one's going to go. So once we're done with the poll, folks, I'm going to be moving on to our friend PPR's channel, Dustin's channel, Professional Paranormal. If you guys have nothing going on, feel free to stop over. That's right, bro. That's right. It's always a great show over there at Dustin's place. So please feel free to join us over there. He would love to see everybody over there. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, Star. I've heard about that a couple times. Well, maybe not. Banana hammock. Okay, I gotcha. See, Pookie? Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. There's the link right there for Dustin's channel, folks, Professional Paranormal Research. For those of you that haven't done it, Dustin's a great guy. Everybody on his community is just like this over here. It's very welcoming and very comfortable over there. And it allows me to show the other side of me that you guys don't see in here, because it's really not what we do in here. But you guys would all be welcome if you haven't been over there. A lot of you guys have been over there, and it's very comfortable over there, guys. So it's always a good time. And you guys get to hang out with me some more. Who would not want to do that? Come on now. It's always a good time. Absolutely. Boy, that one went quick. Really? That was real quick. 75% of you guys said yes to Henry, and 25 said no. Well, it looks like we're doing Henry, folks. It looks like we're doing Henry. That was quick too. Lord have mercy. You guys are quick for that one. So there it is, Henry. That's your homework. There's a movie out called Henry, The Portrait of a Killer. If you guys want to check that movie out, that's what we're going to be looking into. And it should be quite interesting. Besides that, that's really it for tonight, guys. I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Anybody that may have donated to any of the links that I had up there, very, very, very much appreciated, folks. Oh, there it is again. Thank you, Heather. Every little bit helps right now, guys. We're in a bind right now, so I appreciate every bit that you guys do for me. I really do, more than you guys will ever understand. Really, seriously. So thank you all. Anybody that may have, or anybody that does, we do appreciate that. That's everybody here at my house. So thank you. Besides that, again, like I said, guys, 12:30 tomorrow in the morning, we're starting off something new. Mama Bear and I, Miss Heather, Miss Molly, Miss Brandy, got something new to present to you. As always, it should be good. And I am looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to you being here with me. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. For those of you, again, like I said, that have nothing else to do, you might be bored. Follow me on over to PPR's place, guys. It's always a good time. I think you'll enjoy yourselves. As do I, Miss Star. I always love hanging out with all you guys. You guys are the best. I absolutely love each and every one of you guys. 100%. You are the beautiful people. Don't forget to love yourselves and love each other, guys, because that's all we got in this world. I love you guys to death. You have a great, great rest of your night, and I will see you all so very soon. Bye-bye.